Uses the outside of the front row for the start.
Yes, he does. And I think that's a good move. It paid off yesterday, I noticed, on a restarts. We'll see how it works for Denny today. They're coming down here to get the green. The green is in the air. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Hall of Famer Bobby Allison waves the green flag. And we are underway.
Yeah, this is one of Bobby's favorite racetracks. He always ran really, really good here. Was good friends with Mel Joseph. They were old buddies. Good to see Bobby on the flag stand. Mike, I think you saw the 11 car chose that outside for the start of the race. That will pay off. You got that momentum. That guy on the inside is pinned down. You got that nice run off the corner. That really worked for the 11 car, Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, we're seeing the same thing possibly with his teammate Matt Kenseth in the 20. He started fourth on the outside, battling Kyle Larson right down at 42 for the third spot. But companies are coming, that 4 car of Kevin Harvick.
You're right, Larry, but everybody in the garage, and Michael and I were talking about this morning, that 11 car was in a league of its own. He was in another zip code. He was a couple of 3/10 better than the field, and right now he's got a pretty good little lead over our good friend there, Martin Truex Jr. in the 78.
Harvick makes the pass on the inside, hugging the bottom. Taking Kyle Larson, entering turn number 3. Joey Logano now right there with his Ford.
Well, remember last year, Larry, both races here, which is surprising, that 4 car was the car to beat, but they had an issue in the pits with the valve stems.
Both races. But yeah, Kevin Harvick, I was impressed what he did yesterday. He made a 27-lap run in that 4 car, and I did not see a lot of give up on the stopwatch.
Here's Logano to the inside of Larson. This is for 5th place. Yesterday's Xfinity race ran the last 90 or so laps under green, so a lot of rubber put down in that 200-lapper and didn't get gathered back up during a late race caution, as we often see. So we start out with a pretty dark racetrack, especially off turn 2 and off turn 4.
Yeah, you know, Mike, they used to carry us out. We used to have to get cold water poured on us and get a little oxygen and all that, and that was just after practice.
Right.
Mike, you talked about comers and goers. We're riding with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. here in the 17 car. Got a good qualifying effort, qualified 9th, but what I saw in practice, he didn't have the speed in the long run. He's starting to fall back just a little bit. He's back to 12th.
He'd be one of the goers. One of the comers is Dale Earnhardt Jr., who had to start in the back because of the rear end change. He is up to 31st after taking the green flag 42nd.
And the irony of that rule that our rules analyst Andy Petrie explained, this is the first weekend that has become a player.
Moving under Michael Annette.
I'm not so sure, Larry,
top 30.
that probably wasn't an insurance thing. The Greg Ives knew that oil line was off yesterday. Did it, if there was any doubt, did it damage that gear? Let's change it. We'll take our licks and start in the rear.
12th place. Here comes Jamie McMurray on the inside against Stenhouse. Had a look, but he'll have to try again.
I tell you, the challenge is going to come, and Larry knows this, Mike, you do too, as these tires start to get, as the pressure build up and the tires wear a little bit, and as slick as this racetrack is, that's when you have got to work your guts out to stay on the lead lap if you're at the back of the field.
There was a real scrum here on the last lap. Casey Mears, Sam Hornish in the yellow number 9, Tony Stewart and Eric Almirola. And they almost all got together at this track's choke point, the exit of turn number 2. There you see the 9 is loose. Here comes Stewart right to his back bumper.
Yeah, they were 3 wide up here in turns 3 and 4, and they didn't mean to be.
No. Stewart looking on the inside. I think what might have caused that dust-up was Hornish and Casey Mears making a little contact as Stewart takes the low road on by, and here comes Almirola. Jimmy Johnson was the highest qualified Hendrick car, but he started back in the 7th row. As for the second week in a row, Hendrick Motorsports failed to put a car into the final round. That is the top dozen in qualifying. And Johnson now just breaking into the top 10.
Yeah, to me, this is a statement racetrack for that 4018. They have 9 wins here. You're supposed to win here. And when you don't, something's amiss.
Let's go back to the incident we spoke of. Now here's Casey Mears outside of Sam Hornish in the lower right corner of your screen.
Yes. They dance up the track. You'll see, I think Tony Stewart comes into the picture down on the bottom down there. It got a little dicey.
Yeah, just as long as it doesn't develop a tire rub, that's going to be the big issue that possibly might have happened there.
And that was the big story yesterday in the Xfinity Series race. Late in the going, Chris Buescher slid in turn 3, got up into his teammate, Darrell Wallace, knocked Wallace out of the lead and out of the $100,000 bonus. He ended up 17th. Buescher went on to win the race. Not a lot of good feelings right there.
10 to go, no teammates.
That's right.
Racing to win.
I didn't have a horse in that race, but I'm going to tell you something. I didn't think Chris Buescher did anything wrong. He was trying to go to the front. He was trying to win the race, and he didn't run over the guy. They just got together, and he slid up the hill.
Hope you saw it on Fox. It was quite a race. Jamie McMurray continuing to battle Ricky Stenhouse for 12th here.
Yeah, and Stenhouse in the 17, he keeps getting that run up in the second groove, and Jamie will drive in on him here in the middle of the corner, and then Stenhouse gets to run off the corner.
Yeah, I watched Stenhouse in practice there. He worked that high groove all during practice, always up high.
Kurt Busch and Paul Menard trying to follow through if McMurray can open up the bottom and fight his way through. And here comes Jeff Gordon. Gordon on the outside, side by side with Menard. He's going to make this a 5-car battle.
Yeah, Menard just gave Jeff that position. He realized he wasn't in the right spot. He had to let Jeff go. Good move on Menard's part.
That battle for 12th on back. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin out in front of Martin Truex by 3/4 of a second. It's 2 back to Kevin Harvick. Martin Truex Jr. was right there ready to pounce as they worked their way past a group of slower cars.
Yeah, I think Junior feels the same way about Bristol. He doesn't like that concrete there either. So some guys do, some guys don't, but he's made some good moves. But I tell you, those leaders are catching up to the back of the field pretty quick right now.
And that's where Junior is in 26th. He has picked up 16 spots, but there's the leader going off into turn 1 as Junior's midpoint in the backstretch.
Yeah, there's about a back straightaway difference between the leader right now and Dale Jr. So that's not very far, and it doesn't take long to make that up.
Congratulations to Landon Castle right there behind our leader in the number 40. We talked about how he ran 14 miles to the NASCAR Hall of Fame after last Sunday night's race, and this week became a dad. So congratulations to son Beckham and the Castle family.
Had a big week, no question.
That motorhome lot over there, that driver-owner lot, it is full of little ones. Everybody's got strollers riding around in the garage or in the coach lot over there at night.
Here comes Kevin Harvick. He is in 3rd. Chris, he's 1.7 seconds back in the lead.
And Kevin Harvick definitely fast. Talking to different crew chiefs this morning, lots of them said, hey, we've got good short run speed, we've got good long run speed. But it was Rodney Childers, who was the one crew chief I spoke with, that said, we've got good speed both short and long. And I think we're seeing that right now. A lot of drivers complaining their car's a little bit too loose. But Kevin Harvick, these first 28 laps, very quiet on the radio.
Yeah, Darrell, you talked about how well he ran here in this 4-car last year and had the issue with the valve stem both races. This is one of only 2 tracks he has never won any type of a top NASCAR race at, here in Sonoma.
Back here at 14th place, Ricky Stenhouse. Jeff Gordon right behind. Actually, Jamie McMurray gave way. Kurt Busch raced past Stenhouse, running him all the way up to the wall to take the spot. Probably a good thing this track isn't any wider.
Well, you'll see Stenhouse here and Kurt Busch down the inside. And Kurt's able to just, car slides up in the middle of the corner, and Stenhouse just keeps going. Finally, Kurt was able to make that pass, but that got a little dicey, got a little close.
And that's what enabled Jamie McMurray to get by the 17. So they now run 12th, 13th, and 14th ahead of Gordon, Menard, and Newman.
You know, Jeff Gordon in that 24 car, he has to be pretty happy that he's moving forward, because I know when we interviewed him yesterday in practice, he felt like with what they brought here that they were not going to find the feel he was looking for over the course of the weekend. He may not have a race-winning car, but it's not one that's in total trouble right now.
Yeah, and I feel a little bit about the same way about Cole Pern in the 78 car. Martin was not happy with his car at the end of practice yesterday. He said so. But they get these notes They rely on their teammates. They take all the information they have. And these crew chiefs, the smart ones, seem to be able to hit the setup for the race on Sunday.
We've talked about comers and goers. How about drivers that aren't moving up and aren't moving back? Brad Keselowski started 19th, and Maddie's still sitting right there, hovering just outside the top 20.
Mike Keselowski, who finished second in both races a year ago, has not been happy with this package here at Dover. He has fought loose all weekend. That's where the car is. In fact, he was telling Paul Wolf, it acts much like it did at Bristol, where it just takes off on me, especially free on exit. He's already adjusted significantly with the track bar inside the car.
Yep, just not able to move forward and catch Casey Kane one spot ahead of him.
Yeah, his teammates running up there in 6th place, Joey Logano. So, yeah, that 2 car way off right now.
Looking back from Carl Edwards in 8th place. Jimmy Johnson up to 9th after starting in the 7th row. Oh, Edwards climbing the hill, and here comes Johnson. Going to get a chance to make that pass. Maybe not on this straightaway. Maybe soon, Matt.
5 times he's backed up and win with another. He's hoping to do that again today. All 4 Joe Gibbs cars were very close in setup. Carl very pleased in practice, but the car is too free from the center exit. He feels like it's more due to the tightness in the center that hurts his exit, but he's still pretty pleased, Chris.
Matt, you see Jimmy Johnson working his way around Carl Edwards there. He was very fast on Friday, but as the track heated up and rubbered up, he said we just lost the handle of the car. He said typically we've got really good notes on what this track does when it rubbers up, but everything we're doing isn't going with what our notes have done in previous years. So he said right now it's a little bit of a head scratcher what the 48 car is doing.
36 laps complete. We're almost 10%. About 2 laps to set up a lead change here. Denny Hamlin gave Justin Allgaier the boot. That took enough momentum that Martin Truex Jr. was able to get to the bottom. And then coming off the next corner, got under Hamlin to take away the lead after 41 laps in this race.
Mike, how bad does that 78 want to win this race? How bad does Martin Truex want to lead this race? That move he put on that 11 car back there, that was some serious stuff. And you just see Hamlin going and losing another spot. I think the car's maybe gone off a little on the 11, Jamie.
It has just a bit. And, you know, I talked to his crew chief, Dave Rogers. He said after practice on Saturday, even though they were the fastest, Denny had a laundry list of things he wanted to try, meaning this morning. So they made some changes. Dave said we probably made too many changes. And early in the going here, Denny Hamlin saying he's gotten just a bit tight, not turning as well as he'd like.
Well, and Jamie, we're 2/3 away through a fuel run. I think this is where these drivers truly know where their car is headed and what adjustments are going to need to be made on this first stop.
Yeah, and Larry and Mike, you know this. Crew chiefs will do things to the car Sunday morning that they can undo in the race. So if he wants a little more of this, a little more of that, or whatever, they'll give it to him, but they'll also be able to figure out a way to take it, like a spring rubber or whatever it is, to be able to take it away if it doesn't work.
Jimmy Johnson has moved past Joey Logano to take over 6th and beginning to close on our leader, Truex. Matt.
Mike, near the final portion of the race last week, Martin Truex came on the radio and told his guys, when we get to Dover, we are going to wear them out. They got a little bit off during final practice, but Truex told me that they're going to be good. They got the speed back. The car was just a little too tight in the center. But DW, we've talked about it so many times, attitude and confidence is everything in sports.
Yeah, and Matt, you're right. We listened to Martin and to Cole yesterday as they were working on the car final practice. We thought there was a little panic in Martin's voice, that the car wasn't doing what he wanted to, and we could kind of hear it really getting to him. But they settled down. They made the right changes on the car, and this thing is bad fast today.
Well, we're seeing this battle right here for 7th spot. Kyle Busch starting to reel in Joey Logano on that 22 car.
All 4 of those Gibbs Toyotas started in the top 10, and they're all on our list of Toyota top performers. Carl Edwards in 9th place right now.
Here again, I turn off the wall, and as it lands, it's nice and neutral, a little free sometimes. The very center, trying to roll, get the gas, and hustle around the center is tight when the load comes off at like a 2.5 or so. It's right around the center, a little bit tight, and then on the throttle, it's about a 1.5 loose.
See, that is so cool. Carl Edwards is dissecting the car, the track, the turn, everything he's telling the crew chief, Darian Grubb down there, he's writing that down and he's analyzing how to fix those problems that Carl is addressing. And I think I hear a calmness in Carl's voice that I haven't heard since he won that race at Charlotte last week. I really think that's calmed him down, and I think that's going to make a big difference as they go down the road here, as we've said. But right now, Dale Jr.'s got to be looking, and here's Drew Berryman saying, uh-oh.
So let's go down to Jamie for the nationwide Dale Jr. performance report.
And you see him right there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. started 42nd. He's 26th right now in the last car on the lead lap. You know he's looking in that rearview mirror. He sees his old buddy, Martin Truex Jr., getting ready to put him a lap down. Dale Jr. saying he's just a little tight rolling the center and a little free into the turns. The car is okay, but they definitely want to adjust and hopefully hang on to this lead lap.
And Jamie, what Greg Ives, his crew chief, may do, you don't want to get too aggressive with pitting early here, because if you get burnt by a caution, you're going to be 2 laps down. But what they may do is come a little early and try to take advantage of those 4 fresh Goodyear tires and get back in front of the leaders.
Yeah, they
get a caution.
Larry, the other thing I see is Dale Jr. tried to pick up the lap times a little bit, tried to speed up, and actually hurt him. Looked like they drove in a little hard and the car took off, so he's just going to have to probably lose a lap here.
Kyle Busch gets past Joey Logano, moves his Toyota up into 7th place. 54 laps complete, Larry. It's the longest green flag run of the year to start a race.
Well, we'll be hitting pit road here shortly, I guarantee you.
Martin Truex Jr. just put Tony Stewart and now Sam Hornish a lap down here at Dover as he continues to race his way through the field and run that car hard after 61 green flag laps. See why one of the most revered names in NASCAR, trust the most winning name in NASCAR. Go to Chevy.com/Dale Jr.
Boy, I tell you right now, Martin Truex, I've never seen him quite so aggressive. This early in the race, we're 78 laps, ironically, in the race. If there's a crack, he drives through it, man. He's not waiting on anybody right now.
And you know, we're at lap 62, so I talked about that.
For the track bar, for the entry and exit, I did it early.
So he's starting to give Cole Pern some information about that 78 car with his pit stops coming up. The fuel window, 70 to 80 laps. We talked about it in the pre-race show, but I think it bears worth repeating how treacherous it is to get on this pit road during green flag stops.
Man, don't screw up.
Now he's got a 1-second lead on this number 4 of Kevin Harvick. Truex led 216 laps in his win here in June of 07. Harvick stalking him, has a win in the bank this season, as does Denny Hamlin, who is third, 2.5 seconds back of the leader. Hamlin working traffic. Brian Scott just ahead. Then Tony Stewart. Matt Kenseth started 4th, running 4th in his yellow Toyota. And look who's up into the top 5. 9-time Dover winner, Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, hold on, I'm coming. I'll be there in a minute.
Right behind Johnson, Kyle Busch just took over 6th from Kyle Larson.
Yeah, as far as drivers back in the backside of the top 10, I think on the long run, Kyle Busch at 18 may have the best race car.
So Larson currently 7th, while 8th place is a battle. Carl Edwards and Joey Logano, the 19 and the 22. They are 8th and 9th, and Greg Biffle said he had a good Ford. Going to get the chance to prove it. He will round out our top 10.
Yeah, Biffle's holding his own pretty well right now. That's good to see for him.
There's the Biff.
Right behind Greg Biffle, Austin Dillon. I wasn't sure what kind of car that Austin was going to have with his 3 car today. Qualified 12th, and that's just where he's kind of settled in here, running 11th.
I know we made this point in practice, but I really think that running the Xfinity race on Saturday has really helped Austin. I think he's given him a lot of confidence. It's giving him seat time, laps around the racetrack. I think it's really paying off.
Kurt Busch is in 12th after starting 13th. And Jamie McMurray moved up a couple of spots, gave 1 or 2 back. He's currently 13th in his Chevrolet. Jeff Gordon didn't waste a lot of time marching up from 20th to 14th, but that's where his advance seems to have stalled for now.
Yeah, I think the car is definitely better than Jeff thought it was going to be. I'm just not sure if it's as good as it needs to be yet.
Ninth place, Greg Biffle moves up on Joey Logano. Logano explains to his team why.
Got no front tires left and no rear tires left. Hey, balls, I don't know what to do to help it. We're getting wedges so you can try to burn out. Try to get a little balance that way.
Yeah, he absolutely has his hands full. He can't wait for Todd Gordon, his crew chief, to say pit next time.
Well, he's only 17 seconds behind the leader. I say only. Ooh, saw something fly up there out of the groove up on the racetrack at the entrance to that corner, but well up out of the way. Logano is about 8 seconds away from being lapped, Larry, so he's going to have to ride it out for a little while, looks like.
Yeah, but we're in that window now, and you can even see Martin Truex Jr. in the 78, our leader, getting a little bit sideways. I think we're going to start to see some of these leaders hit pit road under green. Again, as we said earlier, a tough pit road to get on under green.
Yeah, and Larry, you know this. These crew chiefs, they run the race backwards. So you don't want to, if your fuel window is, you're trying to get in your fuel window and trying to figure out how many stops you're going to make during this race, you got a number on that board that you're going to run to make that happen.
Yeah, Kurt Busch goes past Joey Logano, takes over 11th, hoping that pit stops come before Brendan Gaughan goes up and pounds the wall, because he's only been about an inch from it up in the Harry Gant groove. Ricky Stenhouse has gone a lap down and jumps to pit road for changes, adjustments. Goodyear tires and Sunoco race fuel.
Well, this is the same right side tire.
Caution down, debris turn 1.
I was going to say the same tire that we ran on the right side here last year, but this is a new, better, softer left side tire. It's where a lot of the grip has come from.
And that saved a lot of drivers like Brad Keselowski, David Reagan, Paul Menard, Casey Kane. They were not that far from being lapped by our leader, Martin Truex Jr. in that 78.
I don't know what that was. That's what I saw fly up from one of the cars up out of the groove, and then when it started to roll down, NASCAR threw the caution.
It looked like a piece of that padding we put on the roll bars, but I don't know where that could have come from.
No one would ever throw a piece of roll bar padding onto the track.
I've only seen that happen once or twice.
Back in the day, it was a kind of common occurrence.
We used to throw out gloves, water bottles. Sometimes I think we'd throw out our helmet if we could get a caution.
All right, first yellow flag, longest green flag run to start a race that we have had this year. Martin Truex Jr. taking advantage of that to lap all but the next 19 cars. So 20 on the lead lap. Looks like Eric Almirola will get the free pass. And here's Kurt Busch talking tires.
Lap 50 is when the right front really started to give up pretty bad. Right now it's pretty angry. Yeah, I got a lot of delta and a lot of movement on that right front, but the angry, like there's a slight vibration coming from it.
I like that. Angry. Tires are angry.
We're running the same right side tire here as last year, but the left side tire is one that was used in Texas. That's the combination Goodyear came up with after a, 5-car tire test.
And that's the one that's putting so much rubber down because it's softer. It has more grip.
Each week, look for the race day Advance Auto Parts Driver Spotlight. Today, they caught up with Greg Biffle, driver of the number 16 Roush Fenway Ford. And you can catch race day next Sunday morning, 11:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on Fox Sports 1.
And I don't think Greg Biffle and that 16 team can run through the halls ringing the bell saying we got it, we got it, we got it after finishing second at Charlotte. But to me, one indicator, the last 3 race weekends, including here, they have qualified in the top 10. So they're starting to get that speed now.
The pit entry at Dover moved closer to turn 3 in a 2009 reconstruction that added a few pit stalls. You see the orange box, and here they come. Chris Neville.
Well, Kevin Harvick, quiet on the radio, didn't say anything until lap 51. At that point, he said he was losing rear grip. Difficult time getting up off the corner. 15 laps later, he said he started losing grip at the front. And Matt Kenseth, about halfway through his run, he said the back end of that car stepping out, especially when it was hard on throttle. Matt?
And the 78 of Martin Truex, due to his pit selection, he's got a great easy exit, about a stall and a half leaving. You can see solid stop so far by the boys from Colorado. No chassis adjustments for Truex. He made that earlier from inside the car, Jamie.
And Denny Hamlin in that coveted number 1 pit box. He said he's a little bit tight. They were going to undo some of the changes from this morning that comes out ahead of the guys.
Just barely, as Truex and Harvick had a drag race down pit road at pit road speed, of course.
Oh, yeah. And that #1 pit stall paid off for that guy right there.
Getting ready for the first restart today in Sprint Cup Racing from Dover, presented by Castrol GTX Magnatech. A look at the tires that came off Denny Hamlin's car by crew chief Dave Rogers. A lot of folks were out of tires, it seemed, on that run.
Well, and Jamie Little was telling us during commercial break, Joey Logano on that 22 car, remember, he had that big complaint. He had a right rear going flat. Denny Hamlin, that pit selection paid off. But how about 11.5 pit stop for that 11 team?
Pretty dadgum good, but if you tuned in for the start of the race, well, don't think we're having another start of the race. This is the way the race started earlier with the 78 down on the bottom. And 11 chose the outside just like he did at the opening. When we come to the green, he's going to do that again, see if it pays off.
Pace car in, coming to speed. Restart zone, green flag. And just like on the initial start, Hamlin scoots out ahead of Truex, who pops out in second place. This time Matt Kenseth third.
Yeah, we saw that 11 car really look good for about 30-40 laps, and then it fell off a little bit. See if Martin can close that gap, but that 11 pulls off pretty quick.
Well, I know we're talking about the 11 and we're talking about the 20, but how about that 18 car? Kyle Busch just gets by Kevin Harvick in the 4 for 4.
You remember the start of the race, so Larry, we didn't talk much about Kevin Harvick in the 4 until maybe 20-30 laps into a run. That's kind of the history of that car. A little slow on the get-go, but man, does it stay consistent.
I know right there through the center of the corner, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 just really drove up to the back of Harvick.
Yeah, I think we got some players, man. We got the 48 caught up now, and we got the 18 up there. We got some guys that were not in the hunt here until now.
Craig Biffle not getting off the corner well. Jeff Gordon all over him right there and looking. Joey Logano hooking the bottom. He's moved up quite a bit.
One of the things you really try to do is run that air pressure on these restarts as low as you possibly can, Matt.
And DW, Craig Biffle very pleased with the 16 car, chasing his third Dover win, trying to earn a spot in the chase. He said his only complaint, he needed a little bit more grip in the front. So Matt Pusha went down on the air pressure to try to help out the nose turn in the corner.
These expansion joints in this concrete, I mean, they're not that big, but they do aggravate the tire, and it causes that tire to do a lot of chattering or bumping. You see the belly of the tire over here. That's just building pressure. That's working that sidewall, building the heat in that tire and increasing the pressure.
But what you can see, and you can just watch the right rear shock shaft right there, the car never stops moving, even on the straightaway. And you can see how much it loads when it goes down in the corner and how much it unloads up on the straightaway where it's at now. Down in the corner, you can watch it right here on Jamie McMurray's car. You can see straightaway versus corner.
Eric Almirola is about to get run over. He's got a swarm of cars all around him, and he's having trouble making forward progress.
Boy, if your car's off just a little bit, Mike, I mean, these guys come at you from all sides, you know, front, rear, side, and you just almost got to get out of the gas and let them go, because if your car's off, you'll wreck if you don't.
Or someone will wreck you.
And by the way, that the suspension cam we're looking at McMurray, those are truck arms. Those are old Chevrolet truck arms that we've been running these cars for years.
Now Almirola squirts away from that group, Matt.
He's had success here in the past, Mike, with a K&N East and a truck win. But right now, he is fighting an evil race car. It is just tight, and it's ruining his exit. Just can't get back to the gas.
And then he's turning the steering wheel, and the front tires are just sliding on him.
Two Chevrolets fight for ninth. Austin Dillon in the 3, Kurt Busch moving past in the 41.
I think it's important to note it. Denny Hamlin in the Gibbs Toyota, Matt Kenseth third in the Gibbs Toyota, Kyle Busch fourth in the Gibbs Toyota, and there's Carl Edwards seventh in the Gibbs Toyota. These guys are for real, man. They've got some power now.
One thing that contributed to that, every one of those drivers gained spots on that pit stop. A net gain of 5 spots by the 4 drivers.
And as physically demanding as this place is, You look at Carl Edwards, you have to relax. You've got to relax when you can. These straightaways are only 1,000 feet long, but you got to take a deep breath every chance you get, or you will be worn out when this thing is over with.
And the straightaways here are banked as much as the corners, you know, the inside groove at, say, Loudon or Phoenix, some of the flatter tracks.
Let's watch Carl, because we always have to hold the car up in the track. Even going down the straightaway, you had to hold it to the right a little bit because of the banking on the straightaway. See how much Carl's moving around? That's that load I was talking about. It's like somebody's sitting on your shoulders trying to drive around here. You're getting forced down in the seat. Car goes up when it goes in a corner, goes down in the middle, lands, comes up off the ground almost on the exit. Busy. But I think you can look at how Kevin Harvick, how relaxed and comfortable he is in his car. And you go back to Carl. Carl's working a lot harder than Kevin is right now. That red piece of tape on the steering wheel, I know a lot of folks know this, but that tells you where the center of the steering wheel is. On a pit stop, you want to be sure and have that thing straight up and down so the tires they can get the tires off the car.
Ryan Newman told me this morning at a Sunoco appearance, he said, this track is easy to drive when your car is right. When it's not right, you are working your arms off.
Oh, yeah.
98 laps complete. Coca-Cola, official soft drink of NASCAR. Here's how the Coca-Cola racing family is performing today with Denny Hamlin out front. The first of 21 cars on the lead lap.
Mike Larry mentioned it. It's so easy to go a lap down here. I don't mean easy. You can go a lap down here a lot quicker than you can do a lot of places. Because if your car's not right, you're losing seconds on the racetrack, not hundreds.
Jeff Burton just went 3 down. One of the leading rookie contenders.
Well, right now, Dale Jr. is 22nd. He's sitting in that lucky dog spot. If he can hang on to that, he might be able to get back on the lead lap. But other than that, he's not running fast enough to get back on the lead lap.
Now, Greg Biffle just got passed a lap ago by Casey Kane for 15th. Now coming into the clutches of Ryan Newman. The Biff has lost 6 positions since he restarted 10th.
Just to give you an idea about the lap speeds here, right now, the last time by Hamlin his last lap was a 24:53. His fast lap in this race was a 22:87. So the track is a good 2 seconds off of what the practice qualifying speeds were.
Mike, you mentioned Greg Biffle back in 16th. Right now, the top running Ford driver is Joey Logano in the 22. He's in 12th spot. We don't have a Ford driver in the top 10 right now.
Clint Moyer turned 36 this weekend. He got an impressive birthday cake made to look like a bucket full of iced down beer. But it was all edible.
Moyer beer.
Moyer finished top 10 the last 8 races here, his longest active streak.
You think about he's an old dirt racer. This place gets a little bit of that feel to it. Jamie?
And Kyle Busch doing a really nice job today. This was going to be a tough task, especially how hot it is. I talked to his crew chief, Adam Stevens, and he said the only real concern they have is his endurance right now. Because he hasn't raced all season long, he tuckers out a little quicker. So he's been hydrating. And as far as the car, it's good. They adjusted on it last pit stop. He gained a position. He started 10th, and he's up in the top 5.
I just don't think we can celebrate enough what Kyle Busch has overcome. Just a little over 3.5 months ago, the man was injured with 1 broke ankle and 1 broke leg. He was back and ran 600 miles last Sunday night, and here he's running 400 miles in one of the toughest tracks we go to.
Well, one of the things that always impressed me about him was on the triple header weekends, he could run a truck on Friday, an Xfinity car on Saturday, and be just as strong on Sunday as anybody out there. I think he's in pretty darn good shape.
Clint Boyer moves up past Jeff Gordon. That moves Boyer to 13th, Matt.
Slowly moving his way to the front. Boyer hasn't won in 89 races. The first run, the car was extremely free on exit. They worked on it, and now he says
Denny Hamlin 0.4 of a second up on Martin Truex now. There they are as they close in on Cole Whitt, working a bit of lap traffic. 21 lead lap cars, 108 laps complete. How about a NASCAR on Fox Sports 1? Rank it up. Second up on Martin Truex, who had 4 of the fastest last 7 laps on the racetrack. And dropping back, Jeff Gordon. He's fallen to 16th now, 13 seconds off the lead.
Checking on it.
Ready, we may have a car going down. Therefore.
I believe something's wrong, Mike.
He was 13th 8 laps ago and has dropped 3 spots since, Chris.
Yeah, Mike, Jeff Gordon's been complaining that car has been tight from the beginning of this race, even after that last round of adjustments. But all of a sudden, he said the back end of that car is just coming out from underneath him. So he's talking back and forth with his crew chief, Alan Gustafson, trying to figure out, do they actually have a tire going down?
Yeah, right now, Chris, his lap times are about 2 to 3 tenths off of what the leaders are running right now.
Larry, we're not quite 50 laps into this green flag run. Seems a little soon for those tires to be going completely away.
Well, if he's got a tire going down, it would not be from being worn out. It would be from running over something because, yeah, right now we're at lap 115. And the pit window for this run would go somewhere between 150 and 160.
And Mike, this track, this concrete track with these expansion joints and everything, the tires take a lot of abuse here. And if that thing gets off a little bit, it feels like you got a flat.
Denny Hamlin's led 80 of 115 laps so far. Martin Truex Jr. as they continue to work their way through traffic, and Truex keeps Hamlin firmly in his sights.
He does. He closed right up on his back bumper there a couple laps ago. Hamlin looks like he stepped it back up, pulled out a little bit here, but Truex wants that lead back bad, Matt.
DW, the car much looser this run than the previous one. Martin was telling Cole Pert a few laps ago, he thinks he used up the good of his tires trying to make a run too early on the 11, but it's since leveled out.
Yeah, because it was about this amount of laps in the first run where the Hamlin went away on Denny Hamlin's 11, and Martin Truex Jr. in that 78 took the lead away from Denny.
Car looks solid. I've been watching the 78 here of Truex, and the car looks solid. It's not slipping, sliding, or anything, so I think it's just that the tires get that build up, get that heat in them, and they just don't have the grip that you'd like.
Hamlin led the first 41 laps in the race, but Truex had a better car for the long run and took over the front spot. How about our leader, Jamie?
And Denny Hamlin, they made that wedge adjustment on that one and only stop they've had today, and he hasn't said a word. The car is good. Now keep in mind, this is the same car that he raced to $1 million in the All-Star race. That was the first time running this car. They believe in him. They believe they'll get that win again today.
So the lead kind of stabilizes at 0.6 of a second. Let me show you how hard Dale Earnhardt Jr. is running to hold on to being the first car one lap down. Watch the 88.
I'll just squeeze right on in there. Excuse me. Right here gets real. Man, that was a nice move. Junior is reporting that he likes his car when it's by itself, but it's a little iffy in traffic. Looked pretty good right there to me. Wow, that's a super move.
Opportunity knocks. Open the door. Get out of my way. Jamie.
That's right. Nobody wants a caution more than Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has something to work with. He said the car is a little bit tight. Of course, it's worse than traffic. But he said, overall, I like my car.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing, Jamie, that he likes it when he's kind of by himself. Clean air. Gets a little dicey, a little iffy in traffic. But, man, it did look bad right there with that 3-wide pass.
And he has a huge lead on Brian Scott in that 33 car for being the first driver a lap down. But the problem, the longer we go into this run, our leaders are going to start lapping other drivers. And that's going to put Dale Earnhardt Jr. in a position where he's not the first driver a lap down. So that's one reason he has to keep after.
There's Scott, who also raced yesterday, one of the double dippers running both the Xfinity and the Sprint Cup race here at Dover. They also had a truck race here on Friday, so a big weekend.
I think Miles must be taking a nap right now.
Well, he chewed him up both yesterday and especially Friday in that truck race.
That's why I say he had a ferocious appetite on Friday and Saturday, but maybe the day isn't over with yet, for sure.
Yeah, Brian Scott took a heck of a lick yesterday in that Xfinity Series race.
Last time we checked on Brad Keselowski, he was 21st after starting 19th. He's 18th. Matt, are they going to get that 2-car going?
Mike, the 2-car has taken a turn for the worse. Brad is telling the team the track bar adjuster is not helping at all. Trying to get back to the throttle. He's trying to run up top. The car is still too free up there. He can't make any gains. He needs a huge adjustment on the next stop. You can hear the concern in his voice.
You know, we talked about this driver adjustable track bar. We've always been able to adjust the track bar, but for the first time in 2015, the driver can adjust it on the right rear. Let's go to our cutaway Fox car here, and that's where his button's at. That right there over there is the radio button. He can push that button up to raise the track bar on the right rear, or he can actually lower it on the right rear. You can see about 10.5 inches. But in the race day show, we talked to a lot of drivers about this, and they all are saying it's not a magic wand. It will not fix a bad handling race car. It's a fine-tuning tool, but a big key is to let the crew chief know how much you've moved it.
Thing's a crutch. I mean, you're really trying to fix something that the driver can do while he's still racing and not having to wait to get to the pits.
Traffic. Casey Mears and Denny Hamlin not getting through easily. That allows Martin Truex to close up 3, 2, 1.5 car lengths. He's there.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. You see Casey Mears at 13 slowed Hamlin down a little bit. That allowed Martin Truex in that 78 to close right up on the back bumper of Denny Hamlin.
They're not accusing Mears of anything deliberate, but aren't Mears and Truex part of that Childress alliance?
Mike, you don't think?
No, not for a moment.
These guys are driving, they're racing. They don't think that way.
You
now,
never
the
did,
people
right?
on the roof and in the pit, I'm
the
not
spotters,
sure
the crew chiefs, yeah, that's a whole different story, right? And that's why NASCAR has the blue flag. The blue flag with the yellow diagonal stripe tells a driver there's a faster car behind you that wants to pass. Get out of the way, or we'll take you out of the way.
And I'm going to tell you, the fans don't know much about that flag, and those drivers don't know anything about that flag.
Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex have been our 2 leaders so far. Truex has a bit more laps today than in most of his 17 starts combined. A moment ago, Martin Truex whistled right around the outside of the number 11 as Denny Hamlin on the long run gives way to Truex's Chevrolet again.
We sort of saw this earlier in the race where the 78 gets better and better and 11 fades a little before the time of the pit stop.
So here's your Budweiser race summary at 144 laps. Martin Truex leads for the second time today. The first of 21 lead lap cars. He and Hamlin have been the only race leaders so far. 3 lead changes now and 1 caution for debris for 5 laps. Matt Kenseth right behind Hamlin. All the Gibbs cars still running in the top 10, Chris.
Mike, Matt Kenseth was another driver who did double duty this week, and he finished second in the Xfinity race yesterday. And his crew chief, Jason Ratcliffe, said the text messages and the emails started coming about an hour after the race. Matt trying to tell him anything he could about the changing track conditions, also the changes that they made to the car yesterday and how it reacted. Well, after his first round of pit stops today, he said we made the car a little bit worse. It just doesn't feel like it's into the racetrack it was those first 100 laps.
Thanks, Chris. Now at 4th place, Kenseth's teammate Kyle Busch has been battling Kevin Harvick. Harvick prevails for now. He's moved to 4th with Kyle Busch in 5th.
Yeah, you know, the Harvick car, I think they might have gone the wrong way on their adjustment on our pit stop. He's falling back a little bit. Somebody, the 15 car
coming into the pits.
This is a scheduled green flag stop. It's a few laps early, but I think, again, Brian Patty and Clint Boyer may be trying to get advantage of those 4 fresh tires, Matt.
You're exactly right, Larry Mack. And when you look at how they've run the first segment and then this last segment, balance is the biggest issue, trying to get the car to hook up around the bottom. Air pressure change for the 15 of Boyer. Solid stop. A little bit slow on the left side. He's away.
He was in 10th place when he pitted, so this will begin the day's first full round of green flag pit stops.
Mike, it took the 78 car 42 laps to chase down Denny Hamlin that first go-round. In this go-round, it took him 67 laps. So I think they made the 11 car a little bit better. Obviously, he was able to hold on that lead a little bit longer, but the 78 still prevails on the longer end, on the end of the run here.
A big, warm, bright day here in the capital of the first state, and that was on Jeff Gordon's mind.
As soon as that shake came out, my car came to life. Front end started to cut. The sun's back out, let me know where it's at. I just fly out like crazy as soon as the sun comes back out.
And we saw that in Friday, especially with all this rubber down on the racetrack. When that sun would come out, it really made this racetrack slick. You know, Mike, Darrell, we talked about how treacherous it is to get on pit road. The other factor under green flag stops, 35 miles per hour pit road speed.
Mike Bliss rolling around after having a close call with Jimmy Johnson. They went into turn number 3, and quite frankly, Bliss was in the way, and Jimmy Johnson sent him kind of like a croquet ball right here.
Yeah, I think they both, I think the 32 car just didn't realize that the 48 was going to follow him up the hill like that. Made a little contact, was able to get on by.
Matt, Jamie McMurray's in.
And McMurray's just had a slight issue just trying to get the car to tighten up on exit. Air pressure change and track car on their first stop. Working his way down to the pit box. Nice entry. 4 tires. Let's see if they make a chassis adjustment this time. Yep, across the back. Significant adjustment for the 1. Trying to help the exit and the entry for McMurray.
Now look at the leader here. Martin Truex has been trying to get by Eric Almirola, who was slow early in this run, but Almirola's come to life. He's as fast as the leader, and he's not moving away. Was there contact here? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty close together. I wouldn't say he's as fast as the leader, but he's certainly holding the leader up. And Martin Truex right here, he's going to take a look underneath of him and see if he can make this pass.
It's the second time he's tried it, Darrell. He's not been able to get by.
I think he's got position this time. You fight. Look, trying to not lose a lap here, so you fight hard.
Yeah, he's trying to be the first driver 1 lap down if he can keep fighting that 78 car and stay in contact, or maybe even stay on the lead lap before pit stops.
Oh, this is going to get dicey. Yikes. Okay.
All right, Ryan Newman is in. Here comes Jeff Gordon. Chris.
Oh, Mike, and Jeff Gordon, we heard him talk about how tight his car was, and then all of a sudden it went loose. It wasn't a tire going down. He's just having a really difficult time with the 24 car today. After the car was loose, he said it tightened up again. So lots of changes on that car. Jamie?
And at 22 is Joey Logano. He wanted help. No forward drive.
Chris.
Jimmy Johnson really struggling with the 48 car in this run. He said that car has been loose from the start near the end of the run. He said, guys, I'm just killing the rear tires. I need some help.
You know, Mike,
Here comes the leader.
That 24 car is real fickle. You heard him talk about sun in, sun out, and how the car was better with the cloud cover. That's a fickle race car right there.
Martin Truex on pit road. That hands the lead back to Denny Hamlin. Jamie.
And Kurt Busch wants help on drive off, so they're going to make an air pressure adjustment that was already done. There's the chassis adjustment, track bar, and 4 tires. They'll fill them up with Sunoco fuel, Matt.
The 78 of Truex is in. These guys actually train in North Carolina through an association with Michael Waltrip Racing. Due to a better caliper, no chassis adjustment on the 78, just air pressure, Chris.
Kevin Harvick said his car was a bit loose early on. They made an air pressure change on that last stop. He said it just took the car out of the racetrack way too tight, so they're going back on their air pressure adjustment.
Boy, getting on the pit road here is a thrill. Oh, my gosh, I've seen them sideways, slideways, and every other way.
Denny Hamlin locked him up coming onto pit road. Now makes the long run down to the final pit box as green flag stops continue. Kyle Busch would have taken over the lead, but he's also on pit road. Jamie.
And they come off the racetrack going 140 miles an hour, and they have to roll it down by 100 miles an hour at the snap of a finger. The 18 is in. Wants the car to be a little bit better. Said it was good early, and then the grip went away. Air pressure adjustment, wedge out 4 tires. Meanwhile, the 11 is Denny Hamlin. Very quiet on the radio, said he started to get tight again, but the long run was very good.
Carl Edwards is the new leader. He and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are 1-2 as green flag stops continue. Tony Stewart is in. Josh Wise making his way down the pit lane.
Outside, coming this time.
Here's Edwards. Coming to pit road.
Yeah, until Carl made that stop, he had the entire field 1 lap down.
So he will retain the lead for a lap until Dale Earnhardt Jr. cycles around, unless Earnhardt decides to pit.
See, that was always a kind of a downer for a 1-mile racetrack. There's no way if you had trouble you could go in the pit. You always lost a lap and change on a track this size.
Matt?
Clay Robinson and Kip Wolfmeyer, the changer's already done on the right side. Now Edwards is saying that on this run, the chassis adjustment already completed. The car started out on the free side, and then middle to the end of the run, as you can see, there's an issue. They left the wrench in the back window, losing considerable amount of time for the 19 of Edwards.
Caution.
Caution's out. They're checking up behind us. You're good low. Clear low. Clear low.
That's actually going to be a huge break for Carl Edwards in that 19 car right there, because now he can come back to pit road. The penalty will be tail into the longest line. This is going to be good for him, this caution coming out.
Yeah, the 17 car, you can see Stenhouse. He went up into turn 1, 2 down there and hit the wall.
When Edwards exited his pit, he had to stop. He stopped in the middle of Brendan Gaughan's pit as Gaughan was coming in. And you see there's still something amiss there.
They were making a wedge adjustment in the left rear, and you'll see right here when the jack drops, it's Carl's sign to leave, and the crew member's trying to get it out of the back window, but just doesn't do it. I mean, that's as much of an effort as you can give as a crew member trying to get that wrench out.
I wonder, Andy Petrie, would taking equipment out of the box include dragging a crewman out of the box?
Well, I don't know if the crewman counts as part of the equipment, but as you can see, that at least part of that wrench was still in the car. But even if not, that would still have been a penalty because they carried that equipment outside of the pit box before they removed it.
Andy, Larry, and it's fair to say, we don't make a lot of adjustments on the left rear. Most of them are around on that right side back in the day we were doing the track bar, but now most everything's done on the right side, seems to me.
Larry, it looks to me like the fitting
Just let me know what I need to do.
that the wedge wrench goes into may have been pulled up out of its socket.
Yeah, it could be the sleeve right there. There's a tube that goes down, that goes down to the adjuster. It could have brought, as he was trying to get that wrench out, it may have pulled part of the sleeve out as well. Regardless, I think they're going to have to get that fixed. But this caution was timely for Carl Edwards, no question.
It was even more timely for Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's back on the lead lap now.
All right, this is what we're looking at right there. All right, he's going to yank the wrench. It's somewhat of a homemade wrench, and yes, that's what it is. There's a sleeve that bolts into the back window that it's like the wrench goes down in it, and when he pulled that out, it just pulled that sleeve up through the window as well.
Yeah, that sleeve is a guide that guides the wrench itself right down into the wedge bolt, is what you'll be turning on right there. So they're trying to put some wedge in the car, apparently.
Well, remember the one driver that had not made a pit stop yet? He's a very lonely man on pit road right now. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88 car, Jamie.
Yes, he is, and they stayed out as long as they possibly could, hoping for the caution, and there it is. Now they get to pit, fill it up. Now, Junior's having a bit of a radio issue, having trouble hearing his team. Didn't hear anybody for a good 4 laps, and there's a lot of static, so they're keeping mindful of that right now, trying to fix it. He'll take 4 tires. He just needs some front grip. He said that was starting to go away. Overall, the car was good, but now he shouldn't have as much traffic as he had earlier when his car was not very happy.
But what that did for him, he's back on the lead lap down that 88 car.
Carl Edwards returns to pit road. Matt?
His car's halfway down the back.
Mike, there we go. My mic's open. Now, Matt Vermeer, you can see him. He's working where the entry is through the back window. They're trying to get the tube, as Larry Mack discussed, back into place. And if they couldn't, they were just going to take it out so that way it wouldn't be rattling around inside the car.
I'd get rid of it. Might come out again.
Hopefully that turns out to be just a minor miscue for Carl Edwards. Ready to go back to green. Let's quickly review those green flag stops we had.
Yeah, one thing that jumped out at me was Denny Hamlin at 11. They lost an awful lot of ground during that cycle of green flag pit stops. You know, we look at the times basically from the time the 2 laps including the pit stop. They lost a ton of time on their stop. They're sitting back in 5th right now.
Martin Truex chooses the outside against Matt Kenseth. Chevy versus Toyota. Jimmy Johnson is up for 3rd. Kevin Harvick 4th. Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch. We're back under green.
Obviously, that outside pays off for whomever has it. That time Truex had it, and he's able to shoot to the lead.
Brad Keselowski in 12th, highest he's been all day. So a couple of drivers in that green flag sequence made some good gains.
Well, there's a bunch of cars all running on top of each other. I know that.
Rewide as Jimmy slides up, and the 11 Denny Hamlin had a thought about it, had to lift, and here comes Kurt Busch.
That's what Larry and we're talking about, and you in the opening there. The car feels good in there, but when it goes all at once. That's what happened to the 48 car.
So after the caution flag pit stops, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is back on the lead lap, but he and David Reagan, the free pass cars, way back in traffic, the last 2 cars on the lead lap.
Man, it's so hard when you come out these restarts like this. You get your car good, and the guy in front of you doesn't have his quite as good. He made the wrong adjustments, and boy, does it bottleneck things up.
That's Jeff Gordon just ahead of Junior. Austin Dillon, Jamie McMurray ahead of them. There's Boyer and Newman discussing 12th place.
Yes, I will just give you a little tap and tell you I need to get on by.
Yeah, Clint Boyer, where he made up so much ground, remember, he was the first driver to hit pit road under those green flag stops and got advantage of those 4 fresh tires.
So Boyer is 12th right now.
Ryan Newman in that 31, he just continues to slide backwards. Right before Boyer went by him, Joey Logano pretty much had just moved him out of the way.
Logano to the outside of Casey Kane, 10th place at stake here. So Logano +3 since the restart. Sam Hornish up to the back of A.J. Allmendinger. Gets a little loose there under pressure.
And right now, Sam Hornish Jr., and we've got a caution, I think.
Trevor Bayne down at turn 1. He spins, and looks like Michael Annett and Michael Annett piles in, and Justin Allgaier to Trevor Bayne's spin.
Mike, that was inevitable. I mean, those guys were pounding on each other.
So there's the whole H. Scott team. 2 cars involved in that one. Looks like Bayne has the worst of it. Watch the number 6 coming off turn 4 here.
Right back here, and looks like Trevor tries to move up.
Yep, Michael
46, and that was there. Hits that inside wall hard.
And Annett gets tagged by his teammate Allgaier.
Allgaier was right on top of him and ran the back of the 46. It's just so hard, man, when you come off a corner 2 or 4, it's so hard to clear that guy on the outside, man. You're just never quite sure. Wasn't enough room.
We're under caution for the 3rd time today at Dover because of Trevor Bayne. Getting up and into Michael Annett, and then collecting that car, the 51 of Justin Allgaier. 3rd caution today. We're not quite to halfway. 178 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Carl Edwards recently became the 3rd and 4th leaders of this race that's been dominated by Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex.
Yeah, you know, the spotters are standing right over to our left over here, just off turn 4, really. Looking down at that Trevor Bayne incident, it looked like he tried to move up just a little bit, and his 46 car was there, and they made contact. So not sure what took place in that little situation.
What's interesting about this caution is we have 21 drivers on the lead lap, and we ran 5 caution laps the last time. I think possibly some of the drivers at the back of the lead lap drivers will come to pit road and get 4 fresh tires.
There you see right there. I mean, it was just contact off turn 4 with the 6 and the 46. Allgaier was back here. I'm not sure. Yeah, he just 51 could not get woed up and ran the back of the 46.
Mike, you talked about it. The straightaways banked here more than some corners, especially like at our other 2 one-mile tracks we go to.
Yeah, I mean, it's self-cleaning. The cars just go down the hill just like that when anything happens. So we call them self-cleaning. I guess that's as good an explanation as any.
So Allgaier's car has enough damage to be towed away as well. Chris Neville.
Mike, Kevin Harvick so strong in those first 100 laps, but just in the last few laps, he's been saying that the track bar stuck in that car as he's trying to adjust it up and down. It's not moving. So the team says they're going to try and free it up the next time they come to pit lane. If they can't free it up so he can use the adjuster, they're just going to have to start adjusting it manually on each pit stop.
Thanks, Chris. My brother had a birthday this week. It was one of those big O birthdays, and all he asked for was a shout out for a longtime co-worker, a NASCAR fan, co-worker of his wife Barbara's. We'll stand up for Nicole Trudeau of Stafford, Connecticut, battling brain cancer. Longtime fan, and happy birthday, brother. Here's today's Ford EcoBoost Track Facts. Ford Performance is the only manufacturer to win 5 in a row here at Dover. The track opened in 1969, and in a duel with the Silver Fox, David Pearson, NASCAR Hall of Famer and all-time winner Richard Petty won the first Sprint Cup race at Dover in a Ford in 1969. Back then, the start-finish line was on the backstretch in front of the enclosed grandstand that's used for the horse races here.
All I know is 500 miles here was an endurance race.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it took 5.5, 6 hours to run 500 miles.
Now, that grandstand today has been, for today's race, donated by Dover International Speedway as the Autism Speaks suite. And we learned a lot at the golf tournament earlier this week from our director, Artie Kempner, and former Major League Baseball player B.J. Surhoff about some of the great programs that are in place as children with autism graduate high school, try to transition into the world. There aren't many programs once these kids leave the educational system. So Autism Speaks steps in, and they continue to provide support and training and jobs. for folks with autism.
Looks like Denny Hamlin in 11. He'll be the first driver to hit pit road. A lot of the other leaders like Truex, Harvick, Kenseth, they stayed out, which I felt like they would.
Yeah, Larry, I mean, we're at 180 laps here. We're not even halfway yet. Just have to work. I'm not sure about this strategy at this point. Jamie, what are they saying?
Well, Denny Hamlin on that last stop, it was a little bit slower for this 11 team, and he got shuffled back a few spots. He comes in, he was 6th, and he said the car was just not good in traffic. It's the deepest he's been today, saying he was just too tight. They wanted to help that out with some air pressure, a 4-tire stop here, and they'll fill him up with Sunoco fuel, and you see behind him the 41 of Kurt Busch and as well.
Third caution of the day for Trevor Bayne. 181 laps in Dover. Bobby Allison, Richard Petty in all-time wins at Dover. Martin Truex, Matt Kenseth once again on the front row for the restart. Add Eric Almirola, who got the free pass. You have 22 lead lap cars. We're back under green.
Mike, the top 11 drivers stayed out under that caution, did not pit.
It's a pretty good restart with that 20 car that time, Larry. He was able to hang right along with that 78. Looks like that momentum off turn 2 is going to get Truex the lead, but that was a good restart by Matt Kenseth.
Truex drops to the bottom. Kenseth second. Rockets through the middle of 3 and 4 and is right on Truex's bumper.
Man, he gassed her up in the middle of that corner. Wow.
Kyle Busch settles in 3rd. Kevin Harvick 4th. Kyle Larson 5th. And Jimmy Johnson, Paul Menard, and Joey Logano battling Clint Boyer.
Tell you, that 18 car, it looked to me like he's searching for trying to get around his teammate there. That 18 car looks pretty good right now.
Kurt Busch talks about his decision to pit.
I think it's the right decision, old man. I don't think we were good enough to, to hold off those guys as loose as we were. This will validate our tires here. Everything is right back to where we were on the previous run here. Yeah, 10-4. I agree with everything.
Yeah, he had about 12 laps on those tires when Tony Gibson brought him to pit road that time with that 41 car.
I like that conversation. Everybody's calm, cool. We're just coming up close to halfway here, working on the car, getting it better.
Well, I'll tell you whose car's not getting better is that 11 car you're looking at right there, Denny Hamlin. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just drove by Denny Hamlin. Both of those drivers pitted for 4 tires that time.
I was just talking to some of the spotters outside here, and they say the track is really weird. One set of tires, you run the bottom. You change tires, next set of tires, you got to run the top. Really line sensitive today.
Jimmy Johnson up to 5th. Kyle Larson now 6th ahead of Menard, Logano, Boyer, and McMurray, the top 10. Now this is the first time Martin Truex has been able to lead a restart and get away. This time from Matt Kenseth by 0.6 of a second. And at 16, Casey Kane, Brad Keselowski.
I don't know if they made contact off turn 2 or not, the 5 and the 2, but if they didn't, the air pushed the 2 up the hill.
Austin Dillon right with them. They had been battling with Jeff Gordon, who's up to 12th, had a good stop. And
yeah, he's been lingering right there, 12th, 14th, like 16th there one time, but that's kind of where Jeff's been, right in the top 12 or 14 here.
Larry can't say enough how much that caution flag benefited Carl Edwards, that he didn't have to come back down pit road and serve that penalty under green.
No, it couldn't have been any more of a benefit for him because, yeah, he's way back in 19th position. You were riding with him right there, but he's still on the lead lap.
And the good thing, Larry, is they could survey the situation. They decide if they want to fix that tube and put it back down in there where it belongs or just get rid of it.
Kenseth trying to reel in Truex. 0.6 of a second is the gap. Make that about 5-6 car lengths. About 7 laps away from our Fox NASCAR mid-race report.
Live from Fox Sports 1 from Dover, Delaware. Martin Truex Jr. is your leader over Matt Kenseth and Kyle Busch. And it's time now for the mid-race report. And the headline of the first half has been 2 for the road. It's been Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. Hamlin started on the pole, was the fastest in the final 2 practice, and still has the fastest lap of the day. He's led more than 100 laps, but has fallen back. Truex Jr. has led the second most laps and is trying to end a 68-race winless streak. Darrell Waltrip, who are you keeping an eye on?
I'm going to keep an eye on that 18 car, Kyle Busch. He's got 2 wins here. I believe he's coming off those injuries. He's learned how to pace himself. He's not using it all up all the time. He's saving a little something for the end of the race.
My guy is Kevin Harvick in the Ford car, and the reason why, you heard the spotters talking about how the track is changing. In practice yesterday, Harvick was consistent throughout his whole runs, old tires, new tires. That'll come into play in the second half of this race.
Michael, Matt Kenseth made his first career start here in 1998. 7 for Bill Elliott. He finished 6th. He's been lurking in the top 5. I think he gets his 3rd Dover win here today.
But Jimmy Johnson looking for his 10th win here, and in true Jimmy Johnson fashion, even with a very loose race car, he's running up into the top 5. That car getting better, and he's getting closer to that 10th win.
Yesterday, Paul Menard was the only non-Toyota in the Fast 5 in final practice. He's likely en route to another top 10 here at Dover, maybe top 5.
And Kyle Larson, who is currently running 6th, the last time he raced on concrete back in Bristol, he led 90 laps, started 3rd today, and is staying in the hunt looking for his first Cup win. As has been the pattern, much of this season, lead changes are down across the board, but if the green flag runs continue, those lengthy runs, it'll put more pressure on drivers and crews to make adjustments.
Kyle Busch 2 seconds back. Kevin Harvick 2.2. Jimmy Johnson 2.5. Let's check with our Fox NASCAR rules analyst Andy Petrie.
Yeah, this first half of the race, we've really only had one impactful penalty, and that was Carl Edwards removing equipment from his pit stall. He is hurting somewhat. He's back in the pack, but he caught a break by catching a caution. But the one thing I'd be looking for in the second half are speeding penalties. Pit road speed here, 35 miles an hour. Extremely slow after these cars are running 160 miles an hour plus when they come down pit road.
Thanks, Andy. And it is 89 degrees ambient temperature right now, which makes this the hottest race day of the year so far.
It's just grueling. I mean, you run around here in 24 seconds right now, 23:12, quickest lap that Truex has run all day. But you run around here in 24 seconds, and I'm telling you, you are working your tail off getting around this joint at that kind of speed.
There's an update on the weather. That concrete, the sun doesn't bake on it quite like asphalt and warm things up, but we're guessing 135 to 140 degrees cockpit temperature in those cars.
And that's up by the driver's head. That's up near the top of the roll cage. You get down in the foot box down there where your feet are, it's even hotter.
I believe what's flapping around there is the drink tube or straw in his water bottle. Blocking the picture there for Jamie McMurray.
A little battle here for 3rd. Kevin Harvick's been trying to get around Kyle Busch here for a number of laps. Hadn't been able to pull it off just quite yet. Right up ahead of him, that yellow car. That's Matt Kenseth's 2nd place car. They're all running pretty close together.
Now, all these drivers, Truex Jr., Kenseth, Kyle Busch, Harvick, Johnson, Larson, and Paul Menard, they all stayed out the last 2 cautions. And when they made that green flag pit stop, they'll have to beat a pit road in about 20 to 25 laps for green flag stops if we don't get a caution.
Yeah, and that really shook things up a little bit too, Larry, because, I mean, you got Menard in 7th, you got Logano 8th, you got Boyer 9th, McMurray's 10th. Dale Jr., who was a lap down at one time, is 8th. That's the complexion of the race has changed a little bit because of that strategy.
2nd place now as Kyle Busch has caught teammate Matt Kenseth. And look at a Kyle Busch run. You would never imagine that he'd been out of the car for 4 months after that Daytona crash.
You know when I realized it? On Friday when we interviewed him after he qualified 10th. He was not a very happy man.
The hard way.
He's going around the outside here. He just gassed it up took the line away from Matt Kenseth and was able to complete the pass. He'd been trying to do that for a while. And here comes Harvick. He's going to try the same thing.
But think about Kyle Busch. We have 14 races, including this one, until the chase. And Brian France, the chairman of NASCAR, said if Kyle Busch wins a race, top 30 in points, he will be chase eligible. So that's the mission Kyle Busch in that 18 car is on.
Yeah, first things first. You've got to get that win.
Now, to get to the top 30, we figured from his comeback at Charlotte, he would have to average a 16th place finish every single week to stay in the top 30.
Yikes.
Wow, 3 wide.
Yikes! Wow, that was crazy right there. Harvick passed Kyle Busch, and Kyle Busch passed him back 3 wide down the back, and they're still battling.
And Jeff Burton had a ringside seat as they went 3 wide.
This was wild right here, man. They were...
Want to see it again?
Yeah, I do. I love this. There goes the 4 car. He gets by. Kyle crosses over, makes it 3 wide down the back. Jeff Burton up on the outside right there. That was tight.
And Matt Kenseth right with them. 2, 3, 4. Jimmy Johnson another half-second back. He was able to close that gap just a bit. When the top 7 pit, that will likely move Clint Boyer to the lead, then Joey Logano, then Dale Jr. And it'll move Casey Kane from 15th up into the top 10. And Matt, that would be the first time today.
Mike, when it comes to giving back, no sport has a bigger heart than NASCAR. Owner Tommy Baldwin and his sponsor, Toy State, have partnered in a new program in 2015 to help kids with disabilities, including autism, that battle mobility issues. Recently, Casey Kane, Michael McDowell, and Alex Bowman modified battery-powered ride-on toy cars. They go from the toy store shelf to a needy family after a 1-hour refit. It includes safety and comfort features geared toward each child's mobility needs. A total of 30 little cars detailed up like a 7-Cup car will be given away this year alone. A great program is taking the green flag.
A nice initiative there. Casey Kane currently 15th. But we're all waiting for those top 7 cars that will have to come on to pit road quite a bit earlier than everybody else.
Yeah, we're at lap 224. That should start happening somewhere north of lap 235.
And then, Mike, Larry, if you look at the racetrack, you wouldn't know it's concrete because it's got a black cast all over it. There's just so much rubber on this racetrack.
Dale Jr. working Joey Logano. This is for 9th place. Jr. makes the pass for 9th. It's been an interesting day for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Maybe not a fun day, but an interesting one. Here is the graph. He led 3 laps prior to a very timely caution flag that kept him on the lead lap. Let's get a nationwide performance update on Dale Jr.
And he is working hard behind that wheel. Crew Chief Greg Ives said they went too far on the adjustment on the last round of pit stops. Dale Jr. said he's just too loose in and off. So on the next stop, they're going to go back a little bit, make a track bar adjustment. But a heck of a job by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Started the day back in 42nd, now into the top 10.
That's one thing I've noticed about Dale Jr. this year, Larry. He's got fight in him. He doesn't give up. Like last week at Charlotte when he said, we want to win the race and we're going to stay out. What are we going to do here? And they went for the win.
Well, here's another driver going for a win, his 10th win at Dover. Jimmy Johnson in that 48, battling Matt Kenseth for the 4th spot right now. I think most of these drivers that will have to pit, Mike, I think they'll try to get to at least lap 240. If they can pit then or later, it makes it a one-stop race for them.
And remember, that 48 car, it's kind of interesting. If you look at the races he's won this year, he doesn't really show up much till about halfway. A little past halfway, he starts really coming on strong. Looks like that's what's happening again today.
Now Matt Kenseth restarted 2nd. We saw him battling for 3rd, and he's fallen almost a second back of that group as Johnson tries to take advantage. Not this time.
Hard to make that pass right there. Get under somebody. It's hard to keep the car down underneath them and not get into him.
171 laps to go. Truex up by a second. Kyle Busch back 2.5. And then this battle, Kenseth and Johnson. With 9 Dover victories in his pocket, If he's on the lap, don't count out Jimmy Johnson. Martin Truex is your leader in the FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks with 165 laps to go, and pit stops looming large for most of the top 7 shortly. Clint Boyer just passed Kyle Larson for 6th. Little bump and run there for Boyer, who will take over the lead when the rest of that top half dozen pits. Here we go.
Yeah. Larson said he's pretty serious about wanting to get by me right now. I think I'll give him a little extra room down here in 3 and 4.
Clint has just a little fresher tires than these drivers like Kyle Larson, because he did pit on that second caution at lap 164, where a lot of the other drivers that made green flag stops stayed out.
You know, as annoying as that is, that's a driver telling another driver, I want by. I'll give you a little tap. That's your little warning. Don't hold me up. I got to go. I'm faster than you are.
So due on pit road shortly, leader Martin Truex, runner-up Kevin Harvick, 3rd place Kyle Busch, 4th place Jimmy Johnson, 5th place Matt Kenseth, Kyle Larson in 7th, and Paul Menard in 9th. They are all due on pit road shortly.
And all those were green flag stops, but to my point earlier, I think most of them will try to go another 2 or 3 laps. That puts them in that window of being able to make it on one more stop.
Yep.
Danica Patrick goes 2 laps down to Martin Truex. Right now, there's only one driver a lap down. That would be Brian Scott. That may change with all of these pit stops that are coming shortly.
I think that blue car there, the 4 car, Kevin Harvick, he's been chasing down our leader, Martin Truex. Kevin Harvick's a little quicker than Truex right now, starting to work his way up on the back bumper of that 78 car. You see him up ahead right here.
About 3/4 of a second is the gap, 1st to 2nd.
Talked about Kevin Harvick never winning here at Dover. I know he and Rodney Childers, his crew chief, they really had a big goal of coming here and trying to get the victory lane.
Boy, you can just hear him, Larry. I mean, there's so little time here. You're in a throttle so much. The reduction of horsepower has increased the corner speed so much. You can't stay out of the gas. You've got to get in it to go, because you don't have the power to pull you up out of the hole if you don't.
Yeah, Darrell, a 1-mile racetrack going around here in 23, 24 seconds. 2/3 of that time is spent in the corners.
And you're in the gas. I mean, wide open in the gas all the time. Unlike last year when you had the 850 horsepower, you could back off and let the car coast a little bit. You can't do that this year.
Denny Hamlin passes Jamie McMurray. That's for 11th. Now works his way past Mike Bliss in the 32.
And Mike, something that may let these drivers stretch it a little further also is we've had 15 cautions laps. And it's kind of a 2-to-1 ratio, caution to green flag lap. That's another reason they'll probably try to run a few more laps.
And Larry, don't forget, I told you in the practice show, you get better gas mileage on the concrete racetrack.
I remembered that.
Yeah, I read that, and it kind of makes sense. You don't have the, you don't have the resistance that you would have on an asphalt track, so you can roll a little freer, go a little further.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 88, he has fresher tires than any of these drivers, because he actually stopped under the last caution at lap 181, so he can go probably somewhere around 265 to 270, and we're at 245 right now.
And Larry, that's so smart. I mean, that's you were in a hole, and then digging yourself out of that hole, you can do things that other teams, other guys, other drivers can't do, just like that kind of strategy.
Jimmy Johnson to pit road, and Kyle Larson. That will begin the round of green flag stops for at least the 7 drivers who are most in need of fuel. Chris?
Well, Jimmy Johnson saying his car a bit too loose the first half of this race. Chad Knaus making lots of adjustments. He's tightened it up a bit too much now. So Jimmy's saying, you got to loosen me up now, guys.
Larson is done. Here's Kevin Harvick. Chris?
And Kevin Harvick saying he doesn't have the best short run speed because of where the track bar is adjusted right now. It's stuck in that position, so no adjustments at that
2. Everybody coming to pit road. Matt Kenseth, service finishing up there. Menard's in, Newman. Here comes Kenseth and Truex. Greg Biffle, Joey Logano. Jamie.
Logano in. It's interesting the swing a lot of these cars have taken. They started off loose. Now they've gotten tight. Or opposite, I should say, tight then loose. And the 88 was loose. So they're going back on some of the adjustments from the last stop. Dale Jr.'s done, Matt.
That run was a great learning tool for Truex. The car, because of the heat cycle, made the car much free. Near the end of the run, though, he says the car was very good. Balance was exceptional. Good stop, and he's away.
Jamie Mack, Joey Logano, David Reagan finishing up. Casey Kane in and penalty.
Oh, yeah, Junior coming back to pit road, Mike.
He was too fast entering pit road.
Well, remember what our rules analyst Andy Petrie talked about. 35 miles per hour. That is a slow pit road speed for a 1-mile racetrack.
And the longer you wait to hit the brake out on the track to enter pit road, the harder it is to get down to pit road speed.
Man, it is. It's so difficult. You come off the track out of control, and then you're trying to hit that 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. Really hard to do.
Kyle Busch.
He just about missed pit road right there. He got down a little late. Just, I'm telling you, every car that comes on the pit road, they're sideways, breaking, they're locking up the tires, smoking tires. Crazy getting on pit road.
Matt Kenseth's the one who's really been right on the edge.
Whoa, that was edgy.
And here's Kyle getting in.
When you come down off that banking and hit that transition from the banking to that asphalt, it just snaps the car loose. And that's when you lose control.
Jamie?
And many of the drivers actually practiced getting on to pit road yesterday in practice. Kyle Busch, one of them. He was tight landing. They made a chassis adjustment in format.
Earlier, Carl Edwards thought he had a tire going down. The car was just so free. They're going to make an air pressure change on this run. It was much better near the end of the run. The balance just not like it was earlier in the race.
Now another driver that fell off the lead lap was Ryan Newman. He had to make 2 green flag stops in this sequence.
Looked like to me he may have had lugs that were loose on the left side because they were just there for a second and the tire changers went to the left side.
And Mike, that penalty cost Dale Jr. He is now running 26 2 laps down.
Wow. So Denny Hamlin cycles back to the lead. Brad Keselowski making a stop. Matt?
Keselowski says this run, the car started off worse than it has all day, and it didn't get much better throughout the course of that run. It's still way too free. Very hard for him to get a good handle on. Also, the inconsistency from center to exit.
Carl Edwards, too fast exiting pit road.
And now we're getting to the point of the race. It's going to be hard for he and Dale Earnhardt Jr. to overcome those penalties.
Yeah, because you're losing. When you come down pit road and serve that penalty, you're losing about 2 laps.
Right, you're running 35 miles an hour down pit road. Everybody else running 150 miles an hour out on the racetrack.
Well, Carl caught a break on that when the moving equipment out of his box because the caution was out, but not that time.
Now you see Denny Hamlin right there, the 11, leading the race. He can go another 5 to 10 laps. He has the entire field except for Kevin Harvick a lap down right now, but he's given up a lot of time on those old tires.
Yeah, he'd be all right if somebody doesn't run over him because they are going around him on both sides.
Now, Carl Edwards was grabbed for speeding not at the end of pit road, but in the segment immediately coming out of his pit box. So you see the 19 slowing to serve his penalty. That's going to be costly.
You'll see right here how much of a difference those new Goodyear tires make. Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 just drives by Denny Hamlin. That puts Martin back on the lead lap right now until Hamlin pits.
A number of drivers who could have stayed out longer pitted with the first group of cars because that window opened to make it a one-stop race, wondering why Hamlin didn't.
Well, they're trying to get that caution. That way they have a ton of drivers a lap down. He's coming to pit road now.
Boy, you see right there, even he's trying hard not to. He almost missed pit road.
.143 laps to go as Denny Hamlin surrenders the lead to come to pit road. Kevin Harvick will be our new leader as Hamlin rolls toward his pit box. And Jamie.
And Dave Rogers, his crew chief, told me they forgot to practice getting on to pit road yesterday in practice. After watching the Xfinity Series race, they were a little concerned about that.
He had to dodge a loose tire coming down pit road. There'll be a penalty there.
It was a close call for Denny Hamlin, though, as he came down pit road. You'll see it ricochet off the outside pit wall. So that could have been a big deal, but fortunately no problem there.
No problem for Hamlin.
Problem for somebody else.
That was Michael Annette's tire, so he'll be making another trip to pit road because of that. Kevin Harvick has cycled back to the lead. He's almost 1 second ahead of Martin Truex, and we're back under caution.
And now Dave Rogers and Denny Hamlin saying, why did we not stay out for a couple more laps?
And there's the reason for the caution. As Annette serves his penalty, they don't want to leave that, what's that, a 60-pound wheel and tire sitting there? Somebody hits that and launches it. That wouldn't be good. So they've waived the caution to clear pit road of that wheel and tire.
Normally you just don't want to claim that. You know, you'd rather they not know where it came from, but they always do.
All right, let's check in at the Hollywood Hotel for a KFC race break.
Thanks, Mike. And for Kevin Harvick, we were wondering, he came in having led in 11 straight races, his first lead of the day coming moments ago. So 12 straight races Harvick has led this season. Of course, he is already has the win in the victory column. Let's go back to when this started, Michael. Denny Hamlin started on the pole, led the first 41 laps until Martin Truex Jr. took the lead, and then Hamlin had to fight to regain the lead on a restart.
Yeah, that pit stop was key to this restart. Denny takes the outside, drives off to lead, made his car better. But as they got 40, 50 laps into the run, Chris, here comes Truex again.
Truex having to battle into the lead 3 different times. Meanwhile, Carl Edwards on pit road. And then moments ago, you heard the speeding penalty exiting pit road. So the Monster Mile taking a bite out of the winner from last week. And we had a wreck with Trevor Bayne. Thank goodness there was the safer barriers here. All the drivers medically cleared.
And you can see how hard Bayne hits that inside wall. And the H. Scott Motorsports teammates both get tangled up in this mess.
And at the moment, Harvick, your leader, with Hamlin. Look, a little bit of cleanup, concrete. Now, there was a problem with the track earlier that they were repairing before the race started. This is something different in the pit area.
Yeah, they've got to get that taken care of. Fortunately, the track has remained in great condition. We've seen a really wide groove like I've talked about. I think that the end of this race is going to be really interesting because there's been a shift in the main players.
And also, you've talked before, and we've heard the pit crews having to respond, obviously, when they reopen pit road. Denny Hamlin's crew, Joe Gibbs, the pit teams have been terrific. Well, what about the pressure that it puts? And when you have these long green flag runs, it gives you less time to make adjustments.
Well, when you have guys like Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Carl Edwards, Ryan Newman, those guys making mistakes on these green flag stops, it tells you how intense the concentration level is, Chris. This track beats on you. You bounce, you vibrate, you shake. You just get to a position where you make mental mistakes, and that's what we saw during this round of pit stops.
And pit road will be open next time around. You know, for somebody like Martin Truex Jr., he considers this his home track, 131 miles from the area of New Jersey where he grew up. I think he's handling the pressure, and he's had a great season in points, but he wants that win to end that 68-race winless streak.
And his pit crew so far has stepped up to the call, too. I mean, he's going up against Denny Hamlin, one of the best in the business. He's going to be face off here with Kevin Harvick's team, so the whole organization is doing a great job.
He has stood up to the powerhouse teams, and Jimmy Johnson up to third, trying to win his 10th race here at Dover. Looks like Logano has come in. We're seeing some of the drivers commit. There is Clint Boyer as well, and that is your KFC race break. Let's head back upstairs to Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
Thanks, Chris. Boyer pits from 5th place. Joey Logano is in. Brian Scott, Austin Dillon, Brad Keselowski, along with David Reagan, Eric Almirola, Jeff Gordon, and Casey Kane, and Danica Patrick, all taking this opportunity to pit.
Yeah, I get a feeling it's not because they wanted 4 fresh tires, but they wanted adjustments on their race cars more than anything.
What I was thinking.
Now, that area of loose concrete they were picking up was right after Tony Stewart's pit and right at the beginning of David Reagan's pit. So I don't think that's in an area where cars are going to be going over that at high speed, and should not be a factor here. 264 complete. 136 to go in Dover, Delaware. In row 2, Kyle Larson, Matt Kenseth in the 3rd row. Greg Biffle got the free pass, so we have 21 lead lap cars.
In the top 10 drivers elected to stay out, 11 pitted, including Greg Biffle.
With that 78 car, got a nice restart right there. He's hanging right with Kevin Harvick. Harvick's not really great on the restarts. His car's a little better on the long run. We'll see if he can hold off the 78 here or not.
There, one thing I noticed through 3 and 4, Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car, his car just flies through the middle of the corner.
Oh, they keep making that piece better and better and better. And, you know, he hadn't won 9 times here without knowing what to do and when to do it.
3 wide off turn 2 back in the pack. What battling we get on these restarts.
There's a gaggle back in there,
Whoa,
man.
Here we go.
3 wide. 3 wide.
Stuck in the middle of Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski, or rather Austin Dillon. Jeff Gordon and Brad Keselowski, who've raced each other all day long.
I'm not sure that little skirmish is not over. I don't know if that's over with yet or not. Well, they sorted out a little bit.
Now, these are drivers that came to pit road for adjustments and got 4 fresh Goodyear tires.
Matt Kenseth moving past Kyle Larson for 5th. Paul Menard closing in on that group.
So, you know, that 4 car that said might, you know, take a few laps to get going. Not this time.
She got going from the minute the green flag was waving on that restart.
Boy, Menard did. He just put a little tap on the back of that 42 car of Larson and moved him out of his way, and Menard is going somewhere.
Now Kurt Busch in the 41 now battling side by side with Denny Hamlin. Talked about the decision to stay out.
I should have pitted. I'm sorry. I need more definitive answers. That sucks. They're going to swallow us up. We'll be all right. We'll be all right. It's just a hard call to make down there.
That was Kurt Busch audio as he moves underneath Kyle Larson. Hamlin has gone on by. Denny Hamlin trying to march back to the front from 7th.
And he had 12 laps on his tires that time. But to his point, Joey Logano on that 22, he's the first driver with 4 fresh tires.
Well, these 2 cats right here, 22 and 42, they are battling hard. Joey Logano, I'm not so sure he didn't get into the side of that 42 to move him out of his way.
And behind them, Keselowski just gave Danica the bumper. Going into turn 3 to get track position down low through turn 2. And here comes Danica fighting back on the outside, Chris.
Like right now, fighting somewhere between 10th and 15th on the racetrack. She's had a really challenging weekend. Just never got the car how she wanted it on Friday or Saturday. And over the course of this race, you would think she'd be running 35th because she said that car is so loose going into the corner and out of the corner. But right now, she's having a great run in the top 15.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive to see her having this run because in her other 5 starts here, her best finish was 23rd.
I know that's an impressive run by her, but these people are getting impatient with each other.
Yeah, at the front of that group, Brad Keselowski's having the best run he's had all day, passing cars, moving forward. Back up front, there's Martin Truex now looking in his mirror at Kyle Busch, 2nd and 3rd, 2 car lengths apart because Kevin Harvick has yarded the field. He's 1.7 seconds out in front. That's one of the biggest leads anybody's had today.
And this is some of the fastest laps that we've seen all day being run by that 4 car right now, too. So they got that baby right at the right time, Chris.
Mike, I'm very impressed to see what Kevin Harvick's doing right now because early in the run on new tires, because of where that track bar is stuck, he's saying that that car is so tight he can't get it to turn. The team has been trying to free up the track bar, but he says it's only good on long runs. On fresh tires, he's saying that that car not handling at all.
Well, it handled pretty good that time.
I would say negatory there, Ghost Rider.
Keselowski, Boyer. 12th and 13th. Jamie McMurray, something's wrong with that car. He gave up 2 spots to Austin Dillon and Dale Jr., another one to Almirola, and he can't get his car down to the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes David Reagan.
You know what's going on with it? Old tires versus fresh tires.
I'm not sure he's loving it right now. I can tell you that.
No. He needs a happy meal of 4 fresh tires and gasoline is what he needs.
So Mr. Feelgoods is what he needs. Poor guy. That's when they're loose. When they're really loose, that's really loose.
10th place, Kyle Larson, Casey Kane with 121 laps to go. This battle about 8.5 seconds off the lead. Larson flirted with the top 5 today, but Casey Kane has just barely cracked the top 10 at any point in this race so far.
Yeah, Kane has been interesting. He's been all over the place. I think it's one of those cars that's kind of line sensitive, and he hadn't, you know, he just hadn't been able to hit it. But this is the best I've seen that car look all day right now. Keith Rodden doing a good job of making adjustments and getting him better when it needs to be.
Right behind him comes Keselowski in that Ford and Boyer in the Toyota. And those are two of the better cars that are just outside the top 10 as the sun pokes out from the clouds once again, Matt.
Mike, we documented earlier, this just has not been Brad Keselowski's weekend trying to get the feel that he usually has here at Dover. He's been snappy loose much of the race. They've made progress on their last pit stop. They've worked out the snappy issue. Now the car is just more on the free side, so headway on the two.
Well, it has definitely been a battle for those boys all weekend long, and as Matt pointed out earlier in the race, the driver and team that finished second in both races here a year ago just goes to show you how much changes about our sport.
They didn't miss it because they ain't never had it this weekend.
Now it's Kyle Larson who's backing up, Chris.
That's right, Mike. Most of this race has been running the top 10, but now sliding outside of the top 10. He's been complaining on the radio, saying that going into the corner, the car just not turning. And then when he goes back to throttle, he's losing the back end of that race car. So Kyle Larson having a challenging time here in this, well, close to the last 100 laps.
Thanks, Chris. Now, half a straightaway behind him, there was a big 5-car battle. And Dale Jr. came up clear out of turn number 4. Unfortunately, Brian Scott was right there. Let's take a Dale Jr. inside ride for that one.
Great save. I don't know how he saved it.
Still there. Top of the very drop there. You're coming in good clear. At the bottom, at the bottom, at the bottom. So you're fine. Protect the bottom. Car's good.
Let's show you what it looked like from our view.
Wow. I know one thing, that spotter was mighty calm for the car to look like that and tap that wall and then didn't have a whole lot to say about it.
But Mike Darrell's in the same predicament he was in the early part of the race. He's the first driver 1 lap down, trying to stay in that spot should we get a caution and get back on the lead lap.
Waiting on your leader, Kevin Harvick, to come to the front straight away. He has now pulled out a 2.5-second lead on Martin Truex. That's the biggest lead of the day with 113 laps to go.
You might have to get another radio. We got no front tires left and no rear tires left. Brad, we may have the tire going down. That's what's making me really racing on this concrete. Hold on. Stop. Brad, keep trying everything. Stay high. Keep digging. Go. Got both of us, guys.
That's the way it sounded this afternoon as we welcome you live to the Autism Speaks 400 from Dover, Delaware. In our Castrol race summary, Kevin Harvick, your current leader, with 21 cars on the lead lap. Haven't had a lot of lead changes or leaders, but in the early portion of the race, Michael Waltrip, it was Hamlin and Truex dominating. Kevin Harvick, who in his 30 career Cup wins, 18 different tracks, but winless at Dover, Kentucky, Pocono, Sonoma, and Texas. This one is on his radar, and so is Truex, who is trying to make a move on it.
Yeah, but Harvick's car has been really solid all day long, and it was just a matter of time until he picked his way to the front. That's where he's at now, and his lap times are as good as I've seen all day long.
Kyle Busch, who gets the waiver after the injury, if he stays within the top 30 in points and gets a win, has had success here before, and he's been hanging around in the top 5, running third.
Yeah, that's an impressive run for Kyle Busch as well. He's really good at this racetrack. He understands how to work the concrete, and this track can get on your nerves, Chris. I'm telling you, the more laps you run, the more difficult it becomes to concentrate. Kyle Busch being out of the car for a while, this is an impressive performance.
We've had 9 different winners this year. Would we get a new one at like the 10th? Would Menard be that guy? Certainly Clint Boyer, Casey Kane, guys who are hanging in there in points but need the win to advance their position to chase to win to get in.
Yeah, Boyer's been impressive today. He's driven through the field all the way into the top 5. You see him making the move around Logano there. This car has the speed to get up there and contend for a win. Whether he can do it or not is another question. Look at Joey Logano, Casey Kane, another really fast car. Kane is doing a nice job racing inside the top 5. I like the way this car is running at this point in the race.
In the last 5 races or 5 years here, the race has run. This race has been won by past champions, of course, Jimmy Johnson. So this indicates if you could win here in Dover, then you pretty much are made of championship material.
This is a tough racetrack. Every lap that goes by, it gets harder and harder. The groove changes. We've seen quality passes inside the top 5 made all the way out next to the outside wall and down on the bottom. That tells you you have to be diverse and you have to have a big playbook to be successful here at Dover.
And here's Jimmy Johnson battling for 3rd place. He's a guy who has made a habit this year of coming from back of the pack and working his way up. And as he has said, with 3 wins in the bank already, good positioning. They're swinging for the fences every time out.
Well, we saw Jimmy Johnson's commitment last week at Charlotte when he spun that car out. He drives right on the edge of control, and that's what you have to do to be successful here at Dover. The turns are tight. They're high banked. You have to have a free race car to be able to get through the center of the corner. Jimmy Johnson knows how to handle one of those.
Less than 100 miles to go in Dover, Delaware, and Kevin Harvick in his 29th Dover race is best finished 2nd, but he's your defending NASCAR champion and your leader at the moment.
This keeps up.
Up to 8th, and he's closing fast on that 5 car, Casey Kane, who's running 7th. And I've been watching Boyer. He don't mess around. He catches them and passes them. Car's really working well right through the center of the corner for him.
Now, at the top of the day, we talked about comers and goers as Brian Scott makes a pit stop. Matt Kenseth also came in for 4 tires while we were away. We have drivers moving to the front. We have drivers backing up. 16 different drivers have completed a lap in a top 5 position today. That's a very large percentage of the field. Now here is Kyle Busch. He battled side by side with Jimmy Johnson for several laps and then said this.
Back under you, let's go. Better than him. To try to get by him, I burn my stuff up, man. It's just hot.
With 89, go ahead, Jamie.
And Kyle Busch having a good time earlier in this run, but now he's serious and says something in the right front feels weird. He gave the alert to his team. They've got their helmets on and they're ready for him if he needs to pit.
His teammate, the 20 car of Matt Kenseth, he had a problem just in the last couple 3 laps. It sounds like maybe the 18's experiencing the same thing.
Chris?
Matt Kenseth was in just a couple laps ago. He thinks something is broken with the suspension on that car. He thought it was either a tire going down or something with the suspension. The team took a look at the tires that came off. They look fine. So Matt Kenseth trying to diagnose what is going on with that car. It might be a broken shock.
You know, back to his teammate, Kyle Busch, he was last on pit road at lap 251. So he can go somewhere about lap 330, but once we get to lap 320, about 6 laps from now, the window's open to make it to the end.
But what I liked about that Kyle Busch radio transmission there, the energy. Still got a lot of
He's
energy.
off it, Darrell. He had a bad run off turn number 2, almost lost the car at the exit at 2, and dropped back about 12 car lengths as Jimmy Johnson tries to take 2nd for Martin Truex.
Yeah, I think it's just tires are worn out. He said he'd burn his stuff up. I think he just wore out his tires.
Johnson to 2nd. The shark is circling, and it's blue and silver.
It is. He's on the prowl right now, buddy.
Johnson failed to lead here last September, ending a 14-race string where he has led laps here at Dover. He's not yet led today.
Well, it's not a 1.5-mile track. But the 2 guys, it's pretty much dominated all year long. Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick, they're out there running 1-2 right now.
They got 2 blue cars, and they're making everybody else blue with it.
Well, hey, now, there's still 84 laps to go. There's going to be at least 1 more pit stop. And as things have changed throughout the day, a lot can happen.
Yeah, and I truly believe once we get to lap 320, about 3 or 4 laps from now, these drivers that are just hanging on, I think you're going to start seeing some of those green flag stops happen.
Let me tell you the difference in the 4 and the 48 right now. The 4 last time by ran a 24.84. Jimmy Johnson last time by 24.47. That's 4/10 right there.
And then the man that's just hanging on, Kyle Busch, ran a 24.58.
Yeah. He needs a bit.
You saw Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano battling there for 11th place, settled in favor of Gordon. But there is the gap, 3 seconds from Harvick back to Johnson. Harvick has spent at least 70% of this race in the top 5. So has Kyle Busch and Martin Truex, and until his pit stop, Matt Kenseth.
Look, when they announced this rule package last year and what they were going to do this year, it was very obvious to me this package was going to compliment some drivers, and some drivers were going to hate it. The 2 guys that have loved it the most have been the 4 and the 48.
And the guy that's hated it the most, Tony Stewart. He's back to 2 laps down now in 21st, hanging on. And
maybe even Jeff Gordon. I don't think he's really embraced his package.
We saw Harvick lap past the boss, or his boss that is, a little bit ago. And here is Gordon in 11th. His lap times are competitive. They're only about 2/10 off of the leader. But Jeff's had a very hard time trying to fight his way into the top 10 today.
Yeah, he's been 12th to 14th since the race started.
Yep. Eric Almirola got a free pass to get back onto the lead lap and made good use of it. He restarted this run in 20th. He is up to 14th.
Pretty solid run. He and Trent Owens doing a nice job today.
And Mike, we almost have the same situation that we had early, where we have 2 split agendas, because when you look at drivers like Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, they stayed out on that last caution. They're going to need to come to pit road in the next 8 to 10 laps. But then you've got drivers like Boyer and Gordon and Almirola, Logano. They pitted, but like we saw earlier, I don't think they'll just stay out there because they can't give up that much time on those fresh tires.
No, we've seen that pretty much all day long there. Even the 15 car, we thought he had a big advantage, but when everybody hit road, he came with them. You can't, even though you have that advantage, you can't give up that track time.
Yeah, there are about 8 drivers with the most fuel in the tank, led by Boyer and Kane in 7th and 8th. But they should come in with the rest of the leaders, as you point out. 77 to go, and here comes Martin Truex to pit lane. The 3rd place car.
I like the way he came into pit road right there, Mike. He got down on pit road early, didn't take a chance of diving off the track, got his pit road speed under control. Looks good coming down pit road.
So if we stay green, here's the last stop of the day for the 78, Matt.
Stellar day for the boys from Colorado. 3rd straight points-paying race that they have led the most laps, and with this very race car. Solid stop going on these guys. They started the day 2nd, still trying to get back into victory lane. They had a little hiccup on the first stop. Chris.
Kevin Harvick saying his takeoff speed a little bit slow. Going to be interesting to see how he does on these fresh tires. He did say that the car a little bit too tight all the way through the corner. Jimmy Johnson also in, saying that his car too tight on entry. Matt.
And more pit stops underway. The 27 is in. They plan to go to lap 325. They expect the car to be freer this run on sticker tires. Solid day.
Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin getting service. Johnson gone. Hamlin finishing up. Kurt Busch as well. David Reagan. Jamie.
And the 41 made some adjustments on his car, as well as the 11. The 18 remains on pit road. Remember, Kurt wished that they had pitted last time. He's going to be very happy to finally get those sticker tires.
Kyle Larson's done. Austin Dillon is in. Now, the last green flag stop, we had 2 speeding penalties among top 10 drivers. See how we do here.
I'll tell you one thing, Larson slid his on the pit road.
Eric Almirola in as well.
But when Martin Truex Jr. made that stop, that broke the epidemic out, because you just could not afford to just keep running and keep running.
Kyle Busch is the new leader with Boyer 2nd.
This time.
And Keselowski 3rd, and they want Busch pit side. little bit of brake lock up there as he gets down to pit road speed.
Yeah, nice solid entry, though. Got on nice and smooth.
And for the first time today, Clint Boyer is the new race leader. Jamie.
Remember, Kyle Busch was reporting something felt weird in the right front. They're hoping it's just the tires. They'll get rid of those and get 4 fresh new ones. He said, let's go back on those changes. I just cannot find a happy place this run. So they'll go back on that wedge adjustment. There's a tear off. 4 sticker tires. They'll fill them up with Sunoco fuel as they work their way on the left side. Matt?
And he races so he last went to victory lane for Clint Boyer in the 15 car. He was 4th here a year ago. Now, in the second run of the day, they had a scare because the tires started to slowly come apart on the right front of the 15. They haven't had that issue since. The last stop, there was no changes. It was just tires, once again, for Clint Boyer in the 15.
Brad Keselowski is the new race leader over Jeff Gordon and Joey Logano.
Hey, Mike, that 10 car, Danica Patrick, she came waltzing on the pit road. That thing was sideways, slideways. It was every which way, but she held on to it.
But, Mike, almost like last week, the gambling. Brad Keselowski, Jeff Gordon, Joey Logano, Greg Biffle, they know they can't win this thing. They're trying to catch a caution right now.
Right. Watch this, Mike.
There you go. Whoa. Well, she's way down on the apron, but slideways. And guess what?
What?
Too fast entering.
Oh, no.
Yeah. For Danica Patrick.
And I bet I know which segment that was in.
Matt?
One big thing for Brad Keselowski and the 2 team, when you look at their history, especially the year they won the championship, he thinks outside the box from the cockpit. Recent communication between he and Paul Wolf, he wants to gamble. He would like to run until he almost runs out of fuel, and that would be somewhere around lap 350 from their most recent fuel mileage calculation. So at that point, they're looking at possibly 2 tires. It just all depends, but they're looking at strategy on the 2.
When you have a win in the bank, you can gamble. Boy, this group here, Paul Menard on fresh tires came up on them very, very quickly and had a little trouble there busting through.
But I love Paul Wolf and Brad Keselowski. They're gamblers, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they have any wins or not. They're gamblers. I love that, Chris.
Yeah, we spoke to both Paul Wolf and Brad Keselowski last night. Darrell, you'd appreciate Keselowski said when it comes to that driver crew chief decision, when we're out in front, I listen to the crew chief. When I'm behind, then I have to make the decisions. And Paul Wolf was explaining to us that he listens to his driver, his car chief, and he's channeling through other drivers and other teams. So he's really listening to 3 people at once. So the communication with Brad Keselowski may take priority or not, but they have to be on the same page. And that's something, especially when it comes to gambling. As you said, they didn't love their car coming in here. They knew they'd have to gamble to win this race or at least stay near the front, and their communication certainly is on the same page.
Well, that's trust. I mean, you trust the crew. You know he's in the game, and that's what you want.
But in the perfect world for those 3 drivers, Keselowski, Logano, and Biffle running 1, 2, 3, they have pretty much now Harvick's back on the lead lap. But if they can go another 10 laps and still be out on the racetrack and get a caution, those drivers that made green flag pit stops, they're going to have to pit too because of the number of laps on their tires.
We saw Kyle Busch rocket past Martin Truex. Is Truex's car not as fast now as it was earlier? We'll check after this. 58 laps to go. There's your leader, Brad Keselowski, from our aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, proudly supporting our military for 100 years. Show your support for our troops. Participate in the charity auction at Goodyear.com. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR. Advance Auto Parts takes you through our recap of green flag pit times.
We talked at the top of the show how quick things happen. This would be the 2 laps, including the pit stop. You see Kyle Larson, that 42 group, they had the quickest time. One name you do not see there is Martin Truex Jr. in the 78. They're back in 7th position. They had a 14.5-second pit stop. That's about 2 to 3 seconds slow.
We're told they were slow on the left rear for the 2nd time today.
I'll tell you, there's 3 guys that are fighting it out right now, and he's one of them. Up ahead of him is the 48 car, or the 18 car. Right ahead of the 18 is the 48. And that's really tightening up for what could be a real battle here at the end.
Well, Darrell, if we stay green, we know Keselowski, Logano, and Biffle will have to pit. That's going to be the fight for the win.
That's what I'm seeing right now. And it seems to me like that the 18 is catching 48 a little bit.
Matt Kenseth, yeah, he hits from 20th place. He'd been running not quite up to speed, Chris, but he's back in again.
Mike, still problems with that car. Matt Kenseth saying whatever is breaking in that right front corner, it's continuing to get worse. He said the car is shaking so bad he can barely see. So Jason Radcliffe, his crew chief, finally said, bring it to pit lane. Let's check it out before you end up in the wall.
Well, think back to our right rear suspension cam on Jamie McMurray, how much the suspension goes through. The right front, it never gets a rest at this racetrack.
Yeah, you see right here, you just see the constant movement. That's kind of what you look at, this shock absorber. And then the belly of the tire and the tire pressure building up. And the chassis just constantly in movement. You can see that, perpetual motion.
It's movement, but it's the load. With 9 degrees of banking on the straightaway, it's loaded all the time around this 1 mile racetrack.
Looking out the front of Carl Edwards' car, he's had to overcome a speeding penalty. He's 2 laps down, back in 23rd. Now, Casey Mears is 21st. He pitted at the same time as the 3 leaders, and he's on pit road now. So probably won't be long before we see Keselowski, Logano, and Biffle.
That shot from Carl's car, the 19 there, it reminds me of movies that I've watched. You know, The Sinner or One, or some of those movies where they got those cameras mounted on the cars and they're shooting a movie off the front of the car.
But Mike, you are right. They all 3 pitted on lap 264. That's 85 laps ago. Now, there were a few cautions in there, but obviously you're going to see those 3 drivers on pit road any lap now.
Ricky Stenhouse has been in the garage and back out after a spin back at lap 163. But still running and trying to finish this one off. He is 40th. Join NASCAR saluting our veterans and active military members. Use the hashtag NASCAR salutes or visit NASCAR.com. 49 laps to go. Yesterday, in the Xfinity Series race, Jack Roush gambled, let both of his 2 cars out there to try to run out the final tank of fuel to the checkered flag. It worked well for Chris Buescher. He won, but trying to conserve gas, Darrell Wallace got in Buescher's way. They collided. And Buescher went to victory lane, so that strategy worked for 1 out of 2. Here's when the front 5 made their last stops.
And you talked about running out of fuel. Right now, you feel like Miles is riding in there on your shoulders. I mean, you're tired right now. You've been working hard. You've been running fast. It's been hot. This is as grueling, and these last 50 laps takes its toll on drivers.
Hey, you're riding with Kevin Harvick in the 4 there just a second ago, and he's already moved up to the 3rd spot.
Dale Jr. on pit road. I think that's Tony Stewart coming in right behind him.
Here comes Biffle.
And Greg Biffle will be the first of the 3 leaders to pit. Matt Kenseth coming back in to serve a penalty. Too many men over the wall. And then there were 2. The Penske Fords of Keselowski and Logano have now been out there for 90 laps. Here comes Logano. And Keselowski will come this time. Matt?
And the 16 of Biffle, his biggest issue pretty much all race, has just been trying to get the car to turn in the center of the corner. A solid effort, though, by these guys that turned this car around earlier in the week to come here.
And Joey Logano said his front tires were gone in the first 60 laps, and he can't run the bottom. He's tight in the center. Car has never been where he wanted it all day long. Happy to come in here and get some fresh tires. There was the chassis adjustment, a wedge adjustment there for the 22.
Now, I said Keselowski was coming. I was wrong. He is still on the racetrack, continuing to lead this race with 45 laps to go.
You've made your bed now. Run it to the last lap that you know you cannot run another lap on fuel.
Larry's been out there for 93 laps.
Well, and he's backed the pace down. And when you back the pace down, you obviously not using as much fuel. The Xfinity Series cars, they get a little more better mileage. But Matt, Chris Buescher, he went 98 laps yesterday.
And Larry Mack, only the driver knows how easy he has been getting back in
you want to use their strategy to your advantage, but you don't want to let it bite you, and here he comes.
Here he comes after a 96-lap run. Brad Keselowski's going to give up the lead to Pitt. That will put Kevin Harvick out in front of Jimmy Johnson by 3.5 seconds. As Brad makes what he hopes will be his final stop. Matt?
And with 42 laps to go, Keselowski stops deep in his box. They're only going to need 1 can of fuel since they are halfway through a fuel run to the finish. This will be a 4-tire change for the 2-car. Pit stop, he's away.
He's going to drop out of the top 10. There are 13 cars on the lead lap with 41 to go in the FedEx 400 benefiting Autism Speaks in Dover.
Sunny afternoon.
And think of the traffic. Martin Truex Jr. negotiating lap traffic at a close call a second ago. He's in 3rd place, 5.5 seconds back. But a couple of laps ago, this happened.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was Jeff Burton in the 26 car, and
I think it looked like Jeff Burton maybe was trying to move down out of his way, and he didn't realize that the 78 of Martin Truex was there.
doesn't seem to have hurt his lap times. I thought there was quite a bit of damage to that right front fender, but his lap times are pretty much mirroring everybody but Kevin Harvick's right now.
Yeah, I don't see any, it didn't rub the letters off the tires or anything, so it wasn't any hard contact.
Mike, Darrell, I know we have a green flag look. In fact, we've run 101 caution-free laps, but the last 2 spring races here, we had a caution in the final 25 laps.
How about Martin Truex, though? He has led more laps in the last 3 races than in all but 2 of his full-time seasons in Sprint Cup racing.
The most laps, including today so far, but the day's not over, but yet to cash it in and go to victory lane, which you talked to him in the pre-race about that.
It's going to take that caution you were talking about for him to win this race, because he's pretty far behind that 4 car right now.
Matt?
Mike, you talked about Truex leading the most laps in the last 3 races, and effort definitely equals results. Now, when the team loaded up this car Sunday night at the Coke 600 and went to Colorado, the truck arrived at 2 a.m. They did a complete turnaround, and it was out in less than 24 hours from Colorado, headed to Dover. A 31-hour drive here. All that effort because they knew how good this car was and how good Martin is here. They keep knocking on the door. They sure put in a ton of effort, and it shows.
What was that car you had that you ran almost everywhere? Bertha?
Bertha.
Yeah.
I love that car. That was the best car I ever had. Well, at that time, the Gatorade car, number 88, it was a sweet automobile.
Wouldn't be surprised to see that car Pocono next week.
All right. 28 laps to go. Kevin Harvick holding a 1.5-second lead on Jimmy Johnson. Well, you see the damaged cars as we're under caution for the 5th time today. Brian Scott sitting up on the wall and waiting for the ride to the care center. Kyle Busch was lapping Brian Scott, trying to move to the inside of the 33.
Looked like, just from what we saw here they come back here into turn 3, and it looks like Kyle just gets in the corner really hot with that 33 on the outside, and he got into him.
Right front failure to me of some sort,
Yeah,
because Kyle isn't going to go in there with all that momentum and carry those 2 cars that hard in the outside wall. Brian Scott was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Kenson had an issue. There was some radio chatter about something maybe with Kyle's right front. Maybe that's what materialized there. We're just guessing, though.
Yeah, no, it's all, Michael. It's the same thing. I mean, he went in that corner, and the car looked like it didn't really ever turn.
Kyle Busch has spent 90% of this race in the top 5 and is going to end the day on the hook. And our concern is for those 2 injured legs of his from Daytona, that he is okay.
And Mike and Darrell, what this caution does, we now, with Jeff Gordon getting the free pass and back on the lead lap, we have 11 drivers. No question. Pit road, 4 fresh Goodyear tires, so this is where this race could be won or lost right there on pit road by those pit crews.
Had this caution not come out, right about now, Jimmy Johnson would have caught the race leader, and he and Kevin Harvick would have been side by side for the lead.
Yeah, but Trendsetter over here, Mr. Trendsetter, there's Kyle getting out of his car. He looks okay.
Boy, that's good news. And we listened in on Brian Scott.
Really, I had no clue what that was all about. I had no clue it was there.
10-4, man. Sorry we put you in that situation. We let you down.
That was Slugger Labby, who is Brian Scott's crew chief, that responded to it.
I like that Kyle Busch was able to walk to the ambulance with no trace of a limp.
Nope.
And hopefully he is okay. Brian Scott also climbed out of his race car. But Jimmy Johnson had made up a second on Kevin Harvick in the space of about 6 laps. He was coming fast on the leader.
Darrell, did you see what Kevin Harvick was doing? I know he's coming to pit road to get 4 fresh tires. He was scrubbing those hot tires back and forth, trying to get the rubber cleaned off the racetrack for this restart.
Well, that's what these tires do. If you notice, the track will be a lot whiter as these cars ride around under caution. These hot tires pick up that rubber that's stuck on top of the track, makes the track all clean and not as black as not as much rubber on it as there was before the caution. If you just watch the color of the track, it definitely changes.
Miles the Monster takes a bite out of Kyle Busch and Brian Scott. 5th caution flag of the day.
They stayed out. Here comes Martin Truex Jr. Harvick and Johnson stayed out. Here comes Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, Paul Menard, Casey Kane. I'm shocked with 50 laps on those tires.
Well, now you know that he wasn't just trying to pick up rubber. He was trying to get rid of some rubber.
Matt?
And Mike Colburn told me that they were looking at the final 100 laps. His biggest key was trying to get Martin track position, but also taking into account what the others were doing now. They were throwing around 4 versus 2 tires, but since so many stayed out, to Jamie, they're going 2.
And Dave Rogers with the call on the 11 of Denny Hamlin. You see Paul Menard in there as well. The call was for right sides only. There's an adjustment. And now they audible to take 4 tires on the 11. He needs to be freed up and chew tight all day long. Kurt Busch in as well.
I like that call, Jamie, because it only cost him 1 spot leaving pit road. Denny Hamlin, that is. Now only 2 lead lap drivers stayed out. Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson.
And I'm shocked at that one. 50 laps on those tires. That is a lot of laps.
Yeah.
But they're looking for the clean air. That's all. And they hope this caution lasts for a while.
Well, they're also hoping those guys that got those tires get hung up back here in traffic. I'm a big believer in track position. It's king in my book. But you got to have a pretty reasonable idea that you got good enough tires to hold these other cats off.
Fellas, I'm looking at that casino over on the backstretch. When you're playing with house money, you can take a lot of chances.
Well,
both those lead drivers have wins in the bank in 2015 already. We're almost done here in Dover. Next week, the tricky
took off and finished his job.
Wow.
You see right there, the damage is done. The two and the jackman there had a meeting in the pits.
So Keselowski was leaving, and Cole Pern's jackman was, or rather, Cole Witt's jackman was already coming around. So appears everybody is okay. Let's get ready for the restart and listen in on Jimmy Johnson, Chad Knaus, his crew chief.
You were catching them, dude. You were catching them. We were running lap times at the end of that run as fast as what we were at the beginning. You were running 24:20s on stickers. You know you ran 2 or 3 24:30s right there at the end.
Well, that's a sales job right there, trying to convince your driver that your worn tires are as good as their fresh ones. What do you think?
I like where the 78 car is.
Yeah, here's what we have. We have 11 drivers on the lead lap. The 2 drivers at the front, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, stayed out. The next 2, Martin Truex Jr. in the 78, Casey Kane in the 5, right side tires only. All of the other drivers, 4 fresh tires. And it looks like to me we're going to have somewhere 15 to 17 laps to go when we get the restart.
So with 4 fresh tires, Denny Hamlin and Clint Boyer ought to be liking their chances right about now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, the 78 is going to restart 3rd on the inside. That hadn't been the preferred place. The 5 is going to restart on the outside, but then Denny's right back there on the bottom again. So this restart is going to be critical on what line you're in.
Here's some good news. Kyle Busch, Brian Scott both checked at the infield care center and released after that crash that put us under this caution flag at lap 376.
We say 1 to go here.
Chris?
Well, Kyle Busch has walked up the hill here, leaving the infield care center. Kyle, what happened with the 18?
I don't know. I guess Brian said his spotter didn't say anything, and he just chopped the corner, and I was under him already. It just sucked me around. I hate it. I hate it for my guys. Man, we had a really good run going, obviously. We ran in the top 5 all day long. Just hate it for the Skittles Camry, everybody at M&M's, and, you know, this is a shame. This isn't what we need. And we weren't going to win today, but it doesn't help when you finish 40th.
Everything okay with your legs?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Now remember, Kyle has to average 16th or better in the remaining races and get a win to make the chase for the Sprint Cup.
And he's really disappointed. You can tell he's going to have a decent day, point-wise, which is important to him right now, but not to be.
Well, DW, you've got what you've got. But little advice, you better reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
And by the way, pull those gloves up over your elbows because you're getting ready to get busy.
The front row, Harvick and Johnson, did not stop. They're on old tires. Truex and Kane, row 2 with new right side tires. Everybody else has 4 fresh tires. Here we go.
And Martin Truex Jr. in the 78 got a great restart. He's going to go to the inside.
Couldn't quite make it, but really, Larry, he was trying to block the 11. The 11 had a run and had a look on the inside of 78, but he blocked him.
This will be the most intense few laps of the day, as this should be the final restart with 17 to go. Johnson out front. Harvick second. Truex third. Kane, Boyer, Hamlin.
And right now, the 2 tires on Casey Kane in the 5, they're almost like holding up Boyer and Denny Hamlin in that group.
They really are. They're side by side. Nobody can go anywhere. In the meantime, the front 4 are getting away.
And behind them, these 4 cars under a blanket going into turn number 3. They've all got fresh tires. Look at Hamlin rocket right off the corner.
He got the shot. That's just what he needed. He needed to clear the 15-car Boyer, or he was going to be in trouble.
That time, the lap time of Jimmy Johnson, the leader, Martin Truex.
Whoa, trouble on the back straightaway. Boyer got into the back of Denny Hamlin.
Around he
goes Hamlin.
Hamlin's
And
going
now
to
the
bleed off the
41 car's in trouble going into turn 3.
Kurt Busch off the wall, and miraculously, all those onrushing cars at 160 miles an hour all missed Denny Hamlin.
I'm not sure why, but Clint Boyer just ran into the back of Denny Hamlin and turned him.
6th caution of the day, lap 386.
What a good day for the Gibbs boys. You see back here, Mike, the 15 right here. He gets up under the 11 car and just gets into him, and it sits Denny Hamlin sailing right here. He loses it. I thought he had it, but he got down on the inside and must have got dirt, trash on his tires, and back up in the track he went.
Miraculously, everybody missed him, but further down track, Kurt Busch spun up and into the wall.
Oh, boy. Cautions. Breed.
You see Hamlin.
That's how Kurt Busch got involved in the 41.
Hamlin had to steer so hard to get away from that inside wall that it turned him around and into the outside.
Yes, sir.
Gosh. And everybody misses. There's the choke point of this track right there. Turn 2 under the bridge.
Ooh, man, the 41 car just barely hit the back of it. Enough to turn him around and into the fence. Everybody's scrambling here. Scrambling to miss Hamlin.
We've seen a lot of accidents right at that spot. One where Greg Biffle's car got all torn up, and one down in turn 3 where Joey Logano went tumbling through the corner.
So, Larry, the guys with no tires still up there where they were. The guys with 2 tires are right behind them. The only guy next in line, I guess, would be the 15 car that got 4 tires.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty much row 3 will be Clint Boyer and Paul Menard, the 15 and the 27 with 4 fresh tires. Not the caution, though, that Jimmy Johnson wanted to see, by no means.
A lot of damage to Hamlin and Busch, who thinks he also has a flat left rear. They're going to change the left sides now. Austin Dillon has made a pit stop. He's 1 lap down. So now is Hamlin. He falls off the lead lap. And we'll have 10 lead lap cars when we restart.
And we got 1 to go. Let's go.
We're listening on Kevin Harvick and his team.
Shattered the tires all the way through the corner.
All right. Nothing all right about second, buddy.
Jamie McMurray gets the free pass. Well, yesterday, Joe Gibbs Racing had 4 cars in the Fast 5 in final practice. All their cars qualified in the top 10. But in the last 35 laps, or last 135 laps, Carl Edwards busted for speeding. Matt Kenseth, something broke. Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin caught up in crashes.
But what I did hear Kevin Harvick telling Rodney Childers is he went off in the corner. It's like the front tires are just not gripping, just sliding, chattering.
I got to believe that's rubber buildup, Larry. I believe if they, give them a couple, 3 laps, I believe that would probably clear itself up. But they've got a lot of wear on these tires, and those tires being worn, they're hot, they're picking up rubber.
Hey, we're lining up for a restart. And of the lead lap cars, only Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick on the front row, and Kurt Busch further back have wins this year. Andy Petrie?
Yeah, guys, we watched that last restart, and Jimmy Johnson was not the control car. It was actually Harvick. As they get to that zone right there, it looks like Jimmy went just a little early, and it's kind of splitting hairs here, but that was the last restart. We'll see what Harvick does on this one.
Yeah, and you saw the 78, and he had to drop down to block that 11 car to keep him from getting underneath him going in that corner. And then that put the 15 and the 11 battling each other until they finally wrecked.
Kurt Busch is back on pit road, and looks like everything's broken on the right front.
Right front is caved in.
Is that wheel? Looks like he's lost something in the lower.
Wow. He hit that wall hard.
Jamie?
Well, they came in and took 4 tires, and he went right back out under caution and blew another tire. So obviously something rubbing. They're trying to push it back. They just want to finish this thing out just like Denny Hamlin. They'll ride around. Tough break. They were running in the top 10 today.
Now, he was trying to get out to stay on the lead lap, which he did, but with a lot of damage as a result.
No, Mike, I can see that. You can see that wheel there. It's moving up and down. They've broken an upper control arm, looks to me like.
Yeah, that one's going to be tough to even ride around here on, and I think we're going to go green with 10 laps to go here.
Remember, even if you've won, you need to stay in the top 30 in points to transfer into the chase after Richmond. Jimmy Johnson led only the last 10 laps at Kansas in his last win.
Similar strategy, actually.
They'll restart with 10 laps to go. Green flag.
Everybody was trying to anticipate that restart there. The timing looked like the 48 was able to, yikes, just squeeze down in front of Kevin Harvick, and here comes that 5 car on the outside.
Yeah, Casey Kane in that 5 got a great restart. He's going to move up to second behind his teammate Jimmy Johnson in the 48.
Martin Truex. It's right next to his home state. He's going to come fishing for the lead. He's up to 3rd.
Yeah, but he's got his work cut out for him. I tell you, the guy that really surprised me is that 5 car Casey Kane. He just finally got himself up front. I don't even know if Martin can get by him here, which he needs to.
He's got a good run.
Got to get him now. Got to get him now.
Kane comes down to block.
Got to get him. Got to get him if you're going to get to that 48.
Yeah, because we're coming to 8 to go.
And the 48 is stretching it out right now. The longer that that Martin Truex is tied up behind that 5 car, Jimmy Johnson loving it.
Kurt Busch limping out of turn 2 down on the apron. Will not be a factor.
Boys, you know what? That guy in that 48 car, you might want to mark him down for 10 wins at this joint.
Yes, Martin Truex Jr. in the 78, he's in big trouble because here's Kevin Harvick working on him back for 3rd.
Yeah, I think those 2 tires are just, for him, are just not working like they are for the 5 car. He drove it down in turn 3 too hard and slid up the hill with him.
Larson tries Menard on the inside. You know, Menard may get that top 5 we talked about at halfway.
Little 27 car has been having a really good start to this year.
You just think about everybody up here near the front, with the exception of Jimmy Johnson and Kevin Harvick, how bad they want to win, how bad they need to win.
Menard gets challenged. Larson to the inside. That's for 5th place. Lap car just in front.
Yeah.
Casey Mears.
It's going to be a pick.
Yep, Menard uses that lap car as a pick.
That may have been what he needed.
And let Clint Boyer in that 15 pull up in there as well.
And they are battling their guts out right there for 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Here comes Jeff Gordon.
Gordon
now to the inside of Boyer and makes the pass.
Hadn't talked about Gordon all day long. He's probably going to end up here with a top 10 finish.
He came and got 4 fresh tires on that last caution.
Here he comes. You get by Clint Boyer. Put Jeff Gordon up to 7th. In the meantime, 06 time, going for his 73rd win.
Truex going to try it again on Casey Kane. He drifted up to the high side coming into 3, got a good run off turn 4, and halves the gap to the 5 car going into turn 1. Nothing there on the high side, though, and Kane pulls away.
The numbers on Jimmy Johnson at this racetrack are unbelievable. Oh, trouble in turn 4. Trouble. 13 car he was slow, and the 16 car got into him.
He got tagged by Biffle and then got caught up with Allmendinger. Caution with 2 laps to go.
Wow. I think you've said it before, Mike. This changes everything.
Don't engrave the trophy just yet.
Well, you know, I told you old Miles had been taking a nap. Well, he woke up there just a little wee bit ago, and he is hungry.
I'm sorry. Don't chisel anybody's name in that trophy just yet.
You'll see right here the 16 car Biffle on the outside. 13 smoking up here. He's slow, and Biffle just gets into him, spins him out. And then
Mike, this will be the first green-white checkered that we have had here in a spring race in a long time. We've not had one at all in the last 10 spring races.
But doesn't it make you sick to run all day long? I mean, here you are with 5 or 6 laps to go, and then you have all this trouble, and you end up like you'd never even been here.
Well, all Mears was trying to get to do was get to the finish. So was Austin Dillon down on the apron. Kurt Busch ran a couple laps down on the apron.
I think he was actually trying to get up out of the way. The 13 was. He was smoking. I don't know what his problem was, but then Biffle just came in there.
But how many times, Darrell, do we see a lap car trying to get out of the way, puts himself right in harm's way?
Yeah, I mean, Casey Mears, he didn't have any options. There was traffic below him. He was just trying to move up the hill out of the way, and it didn't work.
Miles claims another victim.
He has this ferocious appetite.
Boyer's on pit road along with Almirola. And we will go to green-white checker as we cross through the scheduled distance, 400 miles. If you think this is exciting, Saturday, our coverage of the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup begins when China takes on the host country Canada. And on Monday, don't miss Team USA's first game as they battle Australia on Fox Sports 1. Plus games all weekend long on Fox, Fox Sports 1, Fox Sports 2, and it's all streaming live on Fox Sports Go.
All right, Larry Mack, 48 got no tires, 5 and 15, or 78 got 2 tires. 48 will take the outside, 5 will take the inside. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, I just don't know if you're going to be able to beat that 48 car right now, especially with him taking the outside and thinking that we only have 2 laps to go if we do indeed get it done in one green-white checkered. But starting on the outside is going to be the way to go.
You know, Martin Truex has led all these laps in all these races. He's been a contender every single week lately. You know, he's Mr. Win One Soon.
Yeah.
But Casey Kane, we've not talked a lot about this season.
Haven't.
He's kind of been lagging behind the other Hendrick Motorsports cars. I don't think there's anybody up near the front that needs a breakthrough win at this point in the season more than Casey Kane.
I'll tell you what, when I thought that green flag was coming out, I would be on my way and take my chances.
Johnson has won. Harvick has won.
I would push it. Cole Pern, look at him, calm, cool. We got this.
So of the front 5, 2 have won, 3 have not.
Cole says we've only been here 12 times this year. We're okay.
And Casey Kane, you talk about a late bloomer today. He's only been in the top 5 for 23 laps out of 400 today.
Well, it's really gonna come down to this restart. If Jimmy Johnson nails it, gets the lead, going to be pretty hard to pass him. If Casey Kane can out drag him into the first turn, that's teammates. 5 and the 48 are teammates.
Wait a minute. Weren't you the one who told me there's no teammates this late in the race?
Isn't, but
didn't you say that about yesterday?
Well, it's just like what happened yesterday, and the same thing can happen today.
Right.
You know, Jimmy doesn't want, he wants to be the 10-time winner here. Casey Kane says, dude, I need to win.
This restart is Casey Kane's best opportunity to win all season.
Agree.
Got to make the most of it right here.
Agree, and of course, you know, our buddy 78 to Martin Truex Jr., he's sitting there saying, y'all go ahead and hammer on each other. I'll slip right on by on the inside.
Now, he will likely be behind Kane as Johnson chooses the outside.
These two teammates on the front row, if they don't get it sorted out, I love Martin Truex Jr. I think he could jump up there and get him some. We know how important the bottom line is in 3 and 4. On the start, they can go high and get some time, but you need to be low in 3 and 4. That's where Martin is.
Watch Martin Truex. He'll lag back just a little bit. He'll try to get a nice start and be able to get underneath of the inside car going into turn 1.
Who do you like, Larry?
Well, I like Jimmy Johnson. I just think starting on the outside. But one thing I do want to point out about Johnson and Harvick, they don't need more than about one green-white checkered. They're getting awfully close on fuel here with us going into overtime.
Fellas, Casey Kane is more overdue than yesterday's train. Get out of the way.
Watch that 78. He's going to lag back just a little wee bit, and he's going to try to time this restart where he can get under the 5 going into turn 1, shove him up into the 48, and away he goes.
It's starting to look like checkers or wreckers. 2 laps to go. Green flag.
Oh, the 5 didn't get going real good.
Here comes Harvick.
Hello.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, just when you thought he was out of it, but how about Kyle Larson in that 42? He moves up to 3rd.
I'm not counting. You know what? I'm going to quit counting anybody out of this thing. It's not over yet, even though we're coming to the white flag. Oh, man, Truex is in trouble.
1 lap to go. Side by side for 4th. Truex fades to 7th. Menard's right there. Kane back there with him. 3-car breakaway. 3 wide into turn 3. Everybody wants the 4th spot, but Jimmy Johnson, the all-time winner at Dover, it's over. 10 wins for Johnson.
Oh, how about that 43 car? Where did he come from?
He came and got 4 fresh tires that last caution.
Martin Truex not happy with Casey Kane and the way they came off 4 on that restart.
Yeah, he just didn't get going, and I think that's what messed up Truex. He couldn't get, the 5-car Kane couldn't get going.
74th career win for Jimmy Johnson. Wish you were here, Rick Hendrick, is the sign for Chad Knaus for his car owner. Let's go back and look at the restart.
Yeah, I think you'll see that why Martin was upset.
From the Goodyear aerial
See that
coverage.
gap I was talking about between the 5 and the 78, kind of trying to time it. Actually, Kevin Harvick gave the 48 a nice shot. And then right there, I think Martin thought he should have had a little more room to get down in that corner. I don't blame Kane at all.
No, you got 2 laps of racing.
I don't blame him at all. It's a green-white checker. Do what you got to do, dude.
But it sure took all the momentum out of that inside lane.
Yes,
What is the essence of winning? Maybe a little bit of burning rubber there. Sunoco fueling victories. Jimmy Johnson has now won 3 of the last 4 at Dover in capturing his 4th victory of 2015.